A young, handsome, and attractive young man was lying on a chaise lounge with a glass of wine surrounded by charming, lovely ladies with whom he was joking sweetly. Our hero was stuck in a loop that every day brought him back to the very day he lived as brightly as possible without thinking about money. Every day, the guy lived as a new day and did not worry about anything, because the next day he will start all over again and will again do what he wants. The guy just did not do anything knowing that the day will start again, and once threw himself out of a helicopter looking for a thrill or to end it all. At some point, all this entertainment begins to bore him, and he is not for the adrenaline trying to kill himself and to return to reality. No matter how many times our hero did not try to kill himself or somehow return to normal life, nothing worked, and so it was exactly 1,000 years. The guy sat at the bar with a girl and told about his amazing life, which is stuck in a time loop, but the girl does not believe him. The girl makes the guy realize that it's stupid to make up such silly stories to hit on a girl in a bar, and you can approach it in a different way. The guy talks to the girl frankly and does not see the point of lying, and boasts that for this time, how long he lives has mastered many different useful skills. Our hero is so self-confident that he frankly tells the girl sitting next to him about his intentions to share his bed with her this night. The girl listening to the guy is shocked that he can so frankly tell her such things. The girl is waiting for her friend, but she does not answer her messages. The guy notices that the girl writes messages to her friend, and without looking at the girl with a serious expression says that she will not come. The girl is shocked. She does not understand why he answers for her friend, because she sees him for the first time in her life and she does not know her friend either. With a smirk on his face, the guy explains that her friend is busy with her boyfriend, who suddenly came back and now she won't be able to come. The girl doesn't understand how a guy flirting with her can know everything, and especially about her friend thinks that he is just making it up to be convincing. The guy laughs at the girl, watching that she is already wary, and tells her the exact time when her friend will call her to say that she will not come. The girl, thinking that the guy is just making it up, calmly agrees to wait for the call and warns that if it's not true, she won't be responsible for herself. Suddenly, the girl is noticed by an unpleasant guy passing by her, because the girl looks very spectacular and attracts attention. The girl notices that another strange man is watching her, and she doesn't like it very much. The girl starts to talk nervously. A man with a cigarette in his teeth unceremoniously pulls the girl's arm, showing that he is in charge. The man tells the girl that she hurt him and now she has to pay him back. He asks her to have a drink with him and his friends. The girl is outraged by the man's insolent behavior and wants him to leave her alone. The girl realizes that she should not expect good manners from the man. The man further starts to ask the girl by brute force that she did not resist and still went with them to their table and had fun. Suddenly, the guy who was sitting earlier and talking to the girl interferes in the dispute and asks to let her go. Guys clearly did not expect this. The guy was sure of himself and asked the rude man to come closer to him. He was obviously up to something, but was very calm. The girl was very excited watching the feud from the sidelines. The man started to approach the guy reluctantly. Suddenly, the man takes his unlit cigarette and throws it at the guy, but he very slyly and cleverly dodges it. The cheeky man didn't expect the guy to dodge his cigarette so cleverly and was very surprised. He realized that he wasn't very simple. The man realized that he had to finish with the guy and he pounced on him with furious fists. The guy very cleverly dodges the offender and feels very confident, as if he knew beforehand that he would attack him. The man did not expect that he would dodge, and from his fist he could not believe that such a seemingly simple guy is very collected and strong. And then the guy, with a surprise for all, hits with all his strength in the face of his offender. He cannot fall into the mud and give himself an offense. The guy so simply, and at the same time very hard, hits the man that he flies a few meters in front of him. He certainly did not expect such a thing. The beaten guy lies in the bar all down and in a rage of shame shouts to his partners to immediately attack the guy who hit him. The guy was standing all of himself. He was not nervous at all and code as if he knew everything in front of what can happen and what will definitely not happen. The guy stood next to the girl and watched how, because of the feud with the ignoramus, go his friends and want to deal with him, but he was not a bit worried. The men were very aggressive and promised that now he will not live, because he attacked their friend and now he will not be sweet. The guy immediately recognized the whole gang that came to him to deal with him. He turned to the leader by name and he was frankly confused that he knew him. The guy makes it clear that he knows their main boss and dials him on the phone. He frankly tells them that he is not satisfied with their behavior. The gang leader was shocked because the one the guy was talking about was his brother, and he was confused that he knows him because his brother is a serious man. The young man calls the gang boss and tells him that his brother just attacked him in a bar and wants him to talk to them about their behavior. The guy tells their boss on the phone to calm his guys down if he doesn't want any more trouble and arranges a meeting in May. The protagonist warns the gang boss to teach his men some manners because next time, he won't call and rant to him. The guy throws his phone to the boss's brother, who is horrified and catches the phone in his face, and it's obvious that he's not very happy that they're picking on this guy. The man apologizes to his brother. He is sorry for hitting on a very serious man and promises to apologize. After talking to his brother and his boss, the man handed his phone back to him and made everyone bow and apologize to him. The guy told the bandits that he didn't want to mess with them today and spoil his mood and just asked them to leave and not bother him. The girl watching from the side was shocked by the whole situation. She could not understand who this guy was who dealt with the gang. Suddenly, a call came from a friend who called the girl. She picked up the phone and couldn't believe what she heard from her because it couldn't be. Just as the guy behind the bar said, and at the same time the friend said exactly what he said and asked her not to be offended. The girl couldn't believe what was happening, and the guy said that everything that was going on around her was true, and what he said was also true. The girl realized that everything he said was true, but he couldn't have guessed it all. She had doubts about the guy. The girl went out and followed the guy, and suddenly she saw him driving away in a cool red car that he had stolen. The beauty is not very happy that he steals the car because it is not allowed, but he assures her that tomorrow the day will start again and the car will be back. The guy is not going to pick up the girl, but she presses that she is drunk and he can't leave her. The guy says that she is wearing too much makeup. The girl is furious, as the guy could say the girl looks too provocative, especially with her makeup. She was outraged. The beauty grudgingly opened her purse and asked the guy to wait for her. The girl took some tissues and started wiping her makeup. The girl wiped it all off and showed herself to our guy so that he could appreciate her. Again, he looked at her and said that of course it was much better. The girl was not happy with the guy's behavior, but something in him was attractive, his straightforwardness and freedom of speech. Girl he hooked. The guy calls the girl to make sure that everything he told her today is true, and she will make sure of it when she arrives. The girl naturally agrees to go with a stranger, that today she saved her from an insolent guy, but warns that she and him will find a way out. After all, the beauty of the evening sat down to the guy in the stolen car and went to his house to continue the evening. The morning came. The guy lay in his luxurious bed and realized that again he would have to live the next same boring day. The hero realized that the beautiful girl who shared his bed with him from last night had also disappeared, and now he had to start over from scratch. Unexpectedly for the guy from his shower comes out the same yesterday's beauty and indignantly says that he lied because the next day has come. The girl shows the guy the date on her phone and assures him that he is a liar because the day did not start again, but the next day. The guy looks at his electronic calendar and can't believe his eyes because for the first time in 1,000 years, the next day has come for him. The beauty was very serious and strict. She wanted to hear some excuses because yesterday he was more convincing than today. The guy as if did not hear the girl. He was in his thoughts that at last his curse of the time loop is over and he finally lives. The girl in a frenzy starts to break to the guy in the toilet. Where he closed from her, she wants to hear from him an explanation. The guy can't believe what's happening. Time goes on again. He did not know that it could ever start because it's been so many years. The hero, as if breathed a new breath of life when he finally realized that he broke out of the endless cycle of time and will finally live a full life. At one point, the guy, as if to spill out his emotions and rejoicing, began to shout that he will finally begin to enjoy life in a new way and his time. While the guy was rejoicing in his victory over time, he heard a voice inside him telling him that he had passed the test of time and was now ready. The guy realized that finally in 1,000 years, he has activated the system, and now he has hidden powers that he has been honing all along for many years. A board with his stats appears in the hero's head, and he sees that mental strength and time reset are at a pumped-up level, as well as many skills. Now, the guy realizes that he himself can control time, and not like before he was a prisoner of it. The guy is not like before he has powers. Our hero has a car driving skill at the 9th level. He will drive now as a professional street racer. Also, the guy has a very useful skill of a chef. He can cook any dish and treat himself and acquaintances any cuisine of the world. Hero. For many years studied martial arts, now he has this skill is brought to a good level, not in vain. He practiced, he will be able to fight back everyone. The guy shot from all the martial weapons of the world, and this skill is also pumped to the maximum level. He was satisfied with his abilities. The guy was happy with himself and what was happening to him. He was happy that now time was working for him and he could use his skills. The girl stood outside the shower door and heard everything that the guy was muttering. She thought that he had gone crazy because he was talking to her alone. Suddenly, the shower door opened in front of the girl. The guy came out as if nothing had happened, wiping his hair with a towel. The guy started to say again that for 1,000 years this day was the best of all, but the girl did not believe in his stupid stories. Strangers started knocking loudly and rapidly in the guy's room, shouting under the door that the guy would not be happy because he stole the boss's car. The girl in horror does not understand what is happening, looks through the peephole of the door to check what kind of people came to the apartment to threaten them for the car. Behind the door stood very angry and furious guys. They threatened that if they do not open the door, they will break the door and all will be killed, and clearly not joking. The girl is shocked and starts to tell the guy everything she thinks about him because he stole a car and now they both want to take their lives. The guy has already realized what a serious man was the car he stole. It was an influential gangster in the city with whom it is better not to joke. The guy started to explain what kind of dangerous man the boss he stole the car from was once he had great prospects for a peaceful life. After the death of his parents, he beat up his abusers and went to jail. And after that, he became a boss in criminal affairs, and he has no equal among all. The guy realized that he was dealing with a very difficult man, and if it wasn't for the time loop, he wouldn't have crossed his path. But the situation unfolded like this. The girl did not know how to be in the situation because everything that the guy told her is very dangerous, but for the car will also have to answer. The guy assures the girl that the man whose car he stole is not a very big problem. There are things much more serious and much more dangerous than this. Last night, when he had to get away from the bandits to protect the girl, he gave a false name, and this is definitely a problem for him. The girl listened to what the guy was telling her. She didn't understand how he was going to get out of what he had done last night. The guy was not discouraged by his recent events. He was sure that he would get away with anything because he was a pro at this kind of stuff. The girl did not know what the guy was going to do because he got into a fight with very powerful and dangerous people who do not joke. The guy decides to use his powers and zero out the time until morning so that he has time to spare, and then everything will be up to him. In the room around this girl and the guy, everything starts to transform. The hero's skill system starts to activate time, and the power works in all its glory. The space in a second starts to reset, and everything is reset to 0. Because of this, the guy has one bonus of his skills taken away, but the guy has a lot more in store. Everything worked, and again the girl stands in front of him and yells indignantly at him that he tricked her. And the next day, the time reset to 0. The guy was thrilled with his skills. Everything went the way he wanted it to now. He could rewind time as he needed, and it was unimaginable. The guy asks the girl to shut up and hurry up and get ready because they don't have time for any morning arguments, and they need to act fast. The girl is indignant that the guy covers her mouth with his hand, and lightning bites his fingers so that he does not allow himself too much and does not get conceited. She was very unhappy with the behavior of the young man and decided that he wants to kick her out of the apartment quickly, that she did not expect such a turn. The young man explained that she had made up her mind and they just needed to get away quickly because people would soon come because he had stolen a car. The guy made it clear that the girl is not from a simple family. She was surprised that he knew about her. The girl assumed that he would ask her for help. The guy grabbed the beauty by the waist and pressed her passionately against him, reminding her of what happened the night before between them. The girl was embarrassed and blushed. The girl realizes that the guy is very brave, and the people who will come after him are very serious and can take his life without blinking. Fortunately, the young man has acquaintances who can help him solve his problem. He is not so simple and has trumps up his sleeve. The person who can help the guy with his criminal case with a stolen car in which he also involved yesterday's beauty was a girl. The guy assures that his acquaintance will definitely help him, because she is a very interesting person and knows exactly how to deal with such cases with important people. The guy and the girl ran out into the street and sat again in the stolen car. Began the chase. Behind them rushed people with guns and try to catch up with them. Suddenly, the bandits approach the young people tightly that they can reach them, and one of the bandits threatens the guy with a gun to give up the car. The girl in the car is in shock. She is very scared that they are being chased by bandits with guns, and the guy behind the wheel is very calm in all situations. The guy asks the girl to buckle up as tightly as possible and held on to everything that can be, because if he cannot get away from them, he will not be well. The bandits chasing the hijackers want to use the car lock and lure them out of there to finish the job because they are already delayed. The guy calls the girl who is supposed to help him with his problems as he thinks the girl answers the call with surprise. The guy calls Mrs. Lee and warns her in a phone call that there is a traitor in her company, and because of this, she will lose the dispute. The young man realizes who he is dealing with and needs to be careful. The girl on the phone does not understand who he is and how he knows everything. The car with the bandits rams their car. The guy keeps talking on the phone and says he has information about her brother. The guy struggles to get away from the bandit car and asks Mrs. Lee to have someone meet him at the entrance of her company. He will be there soon. The girl in the passenger seat screams in terror that the bandits are about to catch up with them and they will crash, but the guy is in control. Suddenly, the young man hangs up the phone, and now he is serious about the case. He asks the girl not to worry because he is a master of his craft. The guy has the skill of a professional motorist. He drives off and starts to get away from the annoying bandits. The bandits are shocked. They did not expect that their hijacker is so cool, can drive a car, but they are not satisfied with it. The young man, using his skills, still breaks away from the bandits. He deftly manages the car because he has spent many years on it. And here, on a winding serpentine road, our hero escapes with a big gap from the bandits, and those cannot cope with him and catch up with him. The girl is terrified she lost the power of speech from such an incredible drive chase, but suddenly the car stopped and they were at the house of the girl. The girl did not have a time to recover as she opened her eyes and realized that the car stopped and behind them, there is no more chase. He still broke away. The hijacked car was standing near a gorgeous, beautiful big mansion. It was the house of a wonderful girl who shared with him last night. The girl did not understand how a stranger knew where she lived, but she did not want to ask him about it because he would start talking nonsense again. The girl talked away from the young man because all that he told her last night she does not believe and considers it a pure accident. The girl got out of the car with a smirk and began to ask where the guy learned to drive the car so skillfully and also escaped from the chase. The guy again began to praise himself and says that he had many hundreds of years to learn to drive so effectively. The young man does not advise the beauty to learn driving from him because he has many attempts at life with his skills, and she does not have them. The young beauty realizes that the guy is talking to her again, but decides to take the guy's number in order to have fun with him someday. The guy, without even listening to the girl, pressed on the gas as soon as she got out of the car and drove away on his own business, and the girl did not expect. The girl was shocked and furious at the same time because how could he just leave her like that and did not even leave his number after the night that they spent together? Still, the beauty does not believe all the words of the guy, all his stories last night, and this morning is probably an accident and no truth. The girl decides that everything he knows he was told about her by her friend, and she set up everything so well, and now she will definitely find him through her. The guy arrives in a huge skyscraper to Mrs. Lee. He knows all about her and that her past was not so sweet, he also found out. The man who chased the guy was Mistress's brother. The guy knew a lot about the girl and that she was attractive too. A serious-looking guard in black escorted the guy to Principal Lee's office and introduced him to her. The guy stood in front of the girl very confidently. Madame sent the guard to his workplace and asked them not to disturb them anymore. The guy was waiting to talk to the principal. Mrs. Lee opened all the files on our hero. The guy's name is Chen, and he is 22 years old. He graduated from university, and his parents keep a restaurant. The girl knew everything about the young guy and collected all the information about him and his family. She could not understand what kind of person he is because he can be dangerous. Chen is very surprised that the mistress in such a short period of time was able to dig up so much information about him only on one of his calls. The girl starts to tear up his file in front of him. She makes him realize that she is not so simple and wants to know how he knows about her dispute because he is a regular guy. The girl is furious. She wants to hear an excuse from the guy right away. She can't take his word for it and doesn't know who he is. Chen is so confident that he doesn't care at all and assures the girl that he just knows a lot about everyone and can be trusted. Mrs. Lee realizes that the guy is not so simple and he begins to annoy her with his arrogance because he came to her office in her office. The guy insistently wants to get into the confidence of Mrs. Lee and says that he can betray her traitor for 10 million and he thinks it's fair. The girl is already furious and unnoticeably from under her desk pulls out a gun and puts it to the head of the young man trying to intimidate him because he is annoying. Mrs. Lee threatens the guy that if he cannot explain everything to her normally, she will take his life right in her office and right now. The guy stood and did not even shudder in front of the girl with a gun in front of him. He also took out a clip from her gun and assured her that without it, it would not work. The girl, from what she saw, was covered with cold sweat because she was in such a situation for the first time. How could he take the clip from her gun? Mrs. Lee begins to remember when the guy could trick her and still did not understand how she could fall for such a trick. Guy Chen shows that he's not a danger to her and calmly hands her a clip of ammo and says he's an information dealer. The guy draws attention to himself and remarks that he has a good intellect because he tricked her so well with the gun that she didn't notice. Chen assures Lord Lee that he only came for profit and money and that he is not a danger to her and gives her the weapon back. The guy realizes that the girl is very smart and prudent and it is better to reduce her attentiveness with a simple payoff. The girl looks at the guy dismissively and wants to know all the information he has because she doesn't know what else he is capable of. The guy starts to tell the girl's biography that she was always smart and strong but had to fight for her place in the family because of her brother. Mistress's mother had a falling out with her father and started going out with men and finally wanted her daughter to marry a powerful man. In order not to marry for convenience, Lee got fictitious grooms. One guy somehow lost his life on his own. The fictitious fiancé of Mrs. Lee was put in a mental institution, although he was a fully competent guy, but also decided unfairly to him. The third fiancé was badly framed and imprisoned for a long time. Most likely, he will never be released. Ding Juilong, that wants to marry Mrs. Lee, deliberately set up fictitious fiancés so that no one else would not come near her even a step. The boy Chen reveals all the cards to Mrs. Lee that he knows about the dispute with Ding Juilong and she needs 5 years to make her business more successful than his. The young man tells her that her rival has outplayed her one step ahead because he bribed her employee who can ruin everything for her. The guy, with a grin and joy on his face, Let the lady know that he knows everything about everyone and can help her with her business. The girl silently listened to the guy and with an unwavering face began to tear off a sheet from the checkbook because he wants money for information. Mrs. Lee writes him a check for the amount he asked for earlier and orders him to hand over her trader right now. The guy, of course, agrees to all the conditions and is going to tell about the trader in her firm who works for her competitor. In the office to Mrs. Lee, suddenly there is a knock and enters her employee man modestly with documents to sign. The employee of the company kindly enters the office of Mrs. Lee and asks her to sign very important documents. Unexpectedly for all, Chen takes the man by the hair on his head. Employee of the company clearly did not expect this and was shocked by what happened. The young man laid the employee face down on Mrs. Lee's desk and confidently said that he is her fake trader. Chen put a gun to this trader's head. The man was in a state of fear and claimed he didn't know what the stranger was talking about. Chen convincingly tells that the trader has a hidden account, and on it there is a huge sum of money. Obviously, they were thrown to him for his fraud. Chen realizes that the employee he is exposing as a traitor is not so easy to crack, and he is going to do something more surprising. Chen takes the trader's phone and calls Ding Ruilong from his phone, and he immediately answers and asks for more information on Ms. Lee. The guy throws the traitor to the floor now. He has definitely exposed him, and there is no way he will be able to deny this information. Mrs. Lee became stern in front of the trader and said that she knew that he was doing his machinations at her place too, but she turned a blind eye and he sold her out. The employee fell on his knees in front of the madam and begged to listen to him. He wanted to say something else in his own defense and begged for forgiveness. The trader began to say something to the mistress about her mother to soften her, but Chen understood and asked not to listen to him because it is a provocation. The guy handed Mrs. Lee a weapon and asked her to decide what to do with him now because he was her trusted face. Mrs. Lee benevolently ordered the trader to get out of her sight and she did not want to see him again. The trader from the company was very happy about the actions of the mistress and could not be happy that he was released alive from the building, and he ran home. Chen was surprised. He thought that for what he had done, the mistress would definitely take his life, but she assured him that he would still pay for his actions. Mrs. Lee still does not trust the young man because he could also fool her in such a way that she began to trust him. Chen was shocked that the girl still does not trust him, but he had one more trump card in his pocket to dispel her doubts. Chen suggests that the girl become her next fake boyfriend, and then she can take her fight against Ding Ruilong to the next level. The guy emphasizes that if he had been working for her competitor, he obviously did not like it, and now he can definitely assure that he is not lying. The girl warns the guy that all her 3 boyfriends who were previously very much introduced themselves and now they are in trouble. Chen knows everything that happened in her life and he likes it because he wants to live a very bright life and a completely new life. The girl intimidates the guy and puts the gun to his forehead again and doesn't understand why he needs it so much because he can say goodbye to his life. The girl behaves very purposefully and she wants to test Chen to the end to understand whether she can trust him or not. The young man, even with a gun at his head, still behaves very confidently. He is convinced that the girl, if she wanted to pull the trigger long ago. The girl stood and looked at the guy as if he was some kind of freak because he was a complete stranger. And where did he come from? Mrs. Lee still removed the gun from the head of the young man and expressed her sympathy for him as a very promising informant. Mrs. Lee told the guy that it is necessary to make selfies that they are a couple, because it is every couple in all social networks. Mrs. Lee takes a photo with her new fictitious fiancé, and the guy thinks that his plan has finally taken effect and his life will be new. Immediately after the photo, the girl knew him as her fiancé and in addition made him her assistant and asked him to tell about her brother. The guy started to tell that 3 of the best clubs in the country belong to him. His power is very strong, but he missed something. Club's brother of the mistress. Really the most luxurious in them rest the best girls, businessmen, and politicians. There can spend a great evening. Chen begins to tell that the management of the clubs went very far and now they will be taken over by the police, who have already started investigations. Chen is sure that his information is accurate, and the luxury clubs will soon be closed, and they have no more than a month until they are exposed. The girl was furious with such information. She could not believe that her brother ran everything to such a state, and she will have to get him out. Chen realizes that the problem with the clubs is not only his brother's business, and not only he will suffer, the whole family will be in the crosshairs. The girl wants to make sure that the information is true, because it is very dangerous if it turns out that it is not true. The young man is 100% sure of himself. He assures the girl and asks her not to doubt his words anymore, as he is responsible for them. Club Corona stood unimaginably beautiful. All its inhabitants were lucky, and they were not ordinary people, very rich and influential. The guys who chased after the red car thief were telling their boss that they screwed up this time and couldn't catch up with the guy. Wang Jianian was Mr. Lee's right-hand man. and couldn't believe that one man could do so much last night. Zhao Guozi was Mr. Li's left hand, and he was shocked that the guy called him and how he got his number since they didn't know each other. Mr. Li was not mad at the guy who had caused so much trouble, and he wanted him to be brought to him immediately, and he would deal with him personally. Suddenly, Mrs. Li entered the office of Mr. Li Zhutai, and all his friends were shocked by this visit. She entered very effectively and quickly. Mr. Li was shocked that his sister visited him and came into his office so abruptly. He quickly ordered everyone to put out their cigarettes. Mr. Li himself frantically began to put out the cigarette and disperse the smoke so that she could not hear the smell. He was very interested in why she visited him. The lady came to her brother to introduce him to her new fiancé, and she introduced Chen standing beside her, that he was now with her. Chen immediately confessed to her boyfriend that he was the one who took his car for a drive and he had already put it back in place. The guy asked not to be offended for such a move. The guys who were chasing him this morning immediately recognized him and immediately started yelling that it was the guy who used his name yesterday. Chen looked at Li and realized that he was not so simple, but he knew everything about him and was armed with everything, and the master was furious at the insolence of the guy. The Lord's sister was a perky girl from childhood, and she had always defended her brother from all the scoundrels in the yard. Since the girl was a fierce girl, although she protected her brother, but she could also teach him a lesson so that he is still afraid of her and respects her for her strength. Lord Li started to question his sister about her new boyfriend and wanted to tell her something or ask her something, but she rudely interrupted him. Suddenly, the lady slaps her brother in the face and corrects him that he didn't call Chen wrong because he is not a boyfriend, but already her fiancé, and he is her brother-in-law. The girl began to treat her brother very strictly and began to reprimand him. Even though she was a girl, she was a very respectful person. Mr. Li Zhutai was shocked by what he heard because he saw this guy for the first time and could not believe that he was her sister's fiancé. The bandits who had been chasing the guy all morning were shocked by what they heard and couldn't believe that he could be the boss's relative. The boss's right and left hands were also distraught at his sister's announcement. No one was prepared for such a turn of events and revelations. Mr. Li was furious, and he asked for an immediate answer as to why it was him and to prove that he was not a fictitious fiancé like those before him. The girl thought for a second and blushed. Then she grabbed her face and got ready to tell her brother her fictitious story. Mrs. Li started to act like she was sick and vomiting. She started to hold on to her fiancé and play her role of bride further. Madame hugged her fictitious fiancé and started to accuse him that she was feeling bad. Now the girl is obviously up to something and wants to do something about it. The guy understood everything and did not think that it would come to such a lie. He thinks that the girl thinks that her brother will definitely expose her and try to kill her. The girl stood near Chen and decided that the guy was afraid that her brother would kill him, but he behaved convincingly and even liked it. Mr. Li is horrified by the recent events, and also his sister came with her fiancé and also hints at pregnancy. All this was unexpected. Mr. Li could not come to himself from all the information that his sister gave him. He cannot believe that she is burdened by this man. The brother realizes that the guy seems to be very good looking, but he is not her type at all. And how come he didn't know about it? Mr. Li obviously understands that the guy is very young, and the sister could not get in touch with him and even more so get pregnant by him because he is very young. The brother is very worried that this guy could take advantage of her situation and fool his sister, and she fell for his charm. Mr. Li is afraid that the young man might cheat his sister, but she doesn't even know about it and just trusts him a lot. The brother wants to find out everything about this man and tries to find out from the guy where he could meet his sister and how it turned out that they are together. Chen very convincingly tells that recently his sister was looking for new employees among young graduate students at the university. The girl was surprised again because she did not tell the guy about this fact, but it was the truth and she was shocked for his informativeness. The brother tries to talk some sense into his sister because she knows him for only 3 months, but she already introduces him as her fiancé. Mr. Li starts to provoke the guy and tells him that yesterday he left the club accompanied by a beautiful girl. Mrs. Li did not know such details and was also surprised by it. She was interested to hear what happened next and waits for an explanation. The guy can easily justify the act, and so he says that yesterday he had to protect a girl from an influential family. Chen says that if he hadn't stopped them in the club and didn't stop them, an irreparable event would have happened. The girl is from the Mu family, which is the most powerful family in the city, followed by the Ji family, and if it wasn't for him, they would have had big problems in their business. Chen realizes that of course he could not help them, but then they would have paid a lot of money and regretted it. Mr. Li understands the whole situation that happened last night and recognizes that the guy really helped them out and thanks him. The girl thought a lot about her new fiancé because he was too mysterious and attractive. At the same time, he knew a lot. The girl didn't expect her brother to listen to her fiancé, but she reminds him that they came here for another matter. Their club is under threat. All of the brothers' employees were shocked by what they heard and don't understand what can happen to close down a chain of thriving clubs. The brother becomes very nervous. He doesn't believe that such a thing can happen, especially he would have known about it first. Chen again gets into the conversation and warns his brother that it was for nothing that he posted the video in dark because now he has problems because of it. The girl didn't know that her brother was communicating with the one she forbade and started to get very angry at him, and the brother wants to justify himself. The guy says that this friend, with whom he should not have communicated, betrayed Mr. Lee and threw all the responsibility on him. Mr. Lee was shocked that the guy knew something that his sister didn't even know. He is a very complicated person, and how he knew everything was a mystery to everyone. The guy takes attention away from himself and asks them not to pay much attention to him because he helps them only because of his fiancée. Mr. Lee starts to show too much emotion, and he shouts that he will not let him go alive unless he explains everything he knows. The girl asks her brother to calm down, but he's not going to talk to him and thinks he's cheating on his sister too. Chen is going to tell the whole story about how the police are going to shut down the whole network of clubs even though they don't suspect it. 4 months ago, a new Chinese police chief was appointed to investigate the club. The young guy told how the police disguised themselves as guests of the establishment and had a good read of the club and found evidence. Chen went to the boss's desk, took a sheet of paper and pen, and wrote down everyone he knew who was working undercover at the club. Mr. Lee was terrified of fear and betrayal. He didn't know how to behave so as not to fall foul of it, but feelings were running high. The boss ordered all his men to gather their weapons and be ready to carry out his orders. He needs to get even with the traitor. The boss orders his assistant and right-hand man to check everyone on the list. He trusts him and assigns him a special task. Mr. Lee warns that if the guy is wrong about anything, he will pay for his words, and then he will not be well. The young guy sat down on the sofa very calmly and modestly, asked Mr. Lee if he had a lot of money at his disposal. The master sat at this table and nervously smoked cigarettes one by one. His assistant stood by him, and it was as if he didn't listen to the guy. Mr. Lee watched the video from the camera that was brought to him and was furious at what he saw. His face was filled with anger and rage. The psycho boss throws the camera and smashes it to pieces and orders his men to have everyone on the list found immediately. Chen again warns Mr. Lee that what he wants to do to the people on the list is a mistake because then the police will close them down immediately. Mr. Lee doesn't understand anything and doesn't know what to do because everything he does is wrong. Chen tries to calm Mr. Lee and wants him to start thinking instead of hysterics and freaking out. The boss begins to suspect that the guy knows something and is not telling everything. He is already tired of this insolent guy. Madame's fake fiancé says that her brother should immediately call off his thugs and have them go back. Mr. Lee called his assistant and ordered him to call them all off, and he immediately went to carry out the order. The brother did everything the arrogant guy told him to do, but he didn't understand what to do. The young man calls for his fake bride's brother to apologize to him, and then he will solve all his problems that he has accumulated. Madame Lee's brother thought that he should be polite to Chung and agree to his proposal to apologize to him, especially since he is his brother-in-law. The girl is frightened by the provocations of her fiancé and asks him to help her brother because they are family, but Chen sees that he is treated with disdain. Mr. Lee gathers all his thoughts in a fist and is going to talk to his new fiancé because they should become friends as they have become almost relatives. Mr. Lee begins to look for a new approach to Chung. He wants to talk to him again and smooth out all the misunderstandings that were previously. The boss convinces the guy that he treats him with respect just earlier. He thought that the young man is cheating on his sister, but Chen does not really believe him. Chen still agrees with the apology of the brother of the mistress and is going to help him. He has already developed several strategies and will share them with the boss. And so the first thing, Chen asks Mr. Lee to take the life of Jiehu, his traitor, because he knows a lot and it is not safe to keep him alive. The boy tells which villa Jiehu is always having fun with his girlfriend and that he is always addicted to forbidden substances. Chen offered to simulate that he will lose his life himself because of illegal substances. Mr. Lee liked this version and was delighted. Now Chen asks Mr. Lee to use all his strength and means to get all the evidence that the police have found on him to give in order to keep him safe. Mr. Lee listened attentively to the young man and agreed and decided to capture the policeman to get all the evidence. Chen was indignant because he gives Mr. Lee a strategy and he acts impulsively because you can't just grab a policeman. Chen tells again that he knows where all the dirt on him is. He names the street, the house, the apartment, and even the password to the safe where everything is. Mr. Lee was shocked to such precise information about his dirt. He realizes that the guy is very mysterious and not simple. And in the end, Chen asks Mr. Lee to tell all his affairs to his old man, and especially about the traitor Jiehu, because the whole family is at stake. Chen knows that the Wei and Lee families have been in conflict for a long time, and because of their enmity, many people have already been imprisoned and they have not been able to solve everything. Chen warns that because of Mr. Wei's problems, the Wei family can easily deal with him and get close enough to tell him. Mr. Li listened to everything that the young man advised him, and to the great regret understood that all this is true and should be done so. And in conclusion, Chen offers a stunning strategy. He asks Mr. Li to burn down his Corona Club. Mr. Li was shocked, something he certainly couldn't have expected because what his boyfriend is asking for is crazy and he can't do that. Chen explains that he needs all this to create the right legend, because then everyone will think that they are just victims of all this. Mrs. Li's young man guarantees that if Mr. Li does everything exactly as he said, he will be a huge success. Suddenly, Mrs. Li takes her brother by the ear. He couldn't have expected this and is tired of her sister's attacks, but she wants to reason with him. The girl forcefully tries to persuade her brother to agree to all the terms. Her brother, screaming in pain, agrees with her sister to everything. Mr. D sees his phone ringing and he needs to answer it because it could be lazy, serious, and business-related. Mr. Li picks up the phone and is shocked to hear that the casino at the club has lost a lot of money and he needs to deal with it. Mr. Li is going to leave urgently to his casino to deal with his affairs and apologizes to his sister and her fiancé, but he has to go. Chen immediately realized who robbed him in the casino. He even knew this person Mr. Li was. Again surprised that the guy knows everything in advance. A huge glittering club with a casino stood in all its glory. Here rest and lose their money influential people and rest too. There are always attractive girls in the casino to attract the attention of customers. Pleasant music is playing and money is pouring in. Many guys sit drunk and lose all their money. Cute girls bring them drinks and they can't stop enjoying gambling. Chen, his fiancé, and Mr. Li together cross the threshold of a posh club with a casino, and the guy further tells him about a gambler. Chen tells about a man who just beat the casino. He did it because he recently lost and now he won everything on purpose. Chen realizes that Jiehu and Mr. Li have built a business on the fact that people lose in the casino and then just become losers. Chen lost almost all of his fortune here and then realized that he was not alone and he needed to do something about it, so he came again. After that, Shen started to act. He teamed up with other families and they found some dirt on the Li family on the video camera, which worked to their advantage. Chen realizes that Shen is well prepared to avenge his past failure and is definitely up to something interesting about poker. Mr. Li was furious. He wants Shen to regret going to cross him this way and is not going to sit this one out. Chen tries to calm down Mr. Li because he should behave with restraint as if he knows nothing and should not give himself away in any way. In a separate room, there is a huge poker table and behind it sit influential people. In such a place, play big players for large stakes. Near the poker table stood the same Shen, but he did not play. He had a special person he hired to beat everyone. The man who played against Shen was in a bad mood because he was defeated and he was beaten for a large sum of money. He was without money now. Shen collected all his won chips and rejoiced like a little child his huge cash winnings because he thought so. Mr. Li enters the room with his sister and her fiancé and congratulates Shen on his unimaginable winnings, but does not show any grief. Mr. Li came in fully armed and did not give away his emotions. He was collected and tactful. He could not fall into the mud. Shen was very happy and arrogant. He won a large sum from the casino and with a smirk asked if they had any objections. Shen starts to talk further about the casino that many this evening lost means burn work, very good employees. Chen intervenes in the conversation with Mr. Li, and Shen, he assures that the employees have nothing to do with it, they just do their job. The young man takes a deck of cards, deftly begins to handle it, and asks Mr. Shen with play with him. He certainly should not refuse. Shen leads arrogantly and does not understand why some guy speaks on behalf of Mr. Li because he does not see this young guy as his rival. Chen sat quietly and did not pretend to be an expert, but Shen reminds that he has already won a large amount of money from the casino Mr. Li. The boss was surprised. He didn't know that the guy is so versatile that he can play poker, and his sister was also surprised. The player who was on Shen's side was very confident, and he considered himself a professional. He knew that he would beat the young guy by percent. Chen was also confident and knew exactly how to behave in such establishments, so no one could suspect him. The girl starts to pull away her fictitious fiancé because she doesn't know him at all, and what he is up to is very serious. Mrs. Li asks the guy if he knows what the game is all about, but he assures her that she has nothing to worry about. Players sat down at the poker table, and now the game will show who of them is capable of what and who knows exactly how to play. Chen acts like he's been playing his whole life and doesn't even look at his deck of cards when he's dealt them. The player sitting on the opposite side is not upset about anything, but with valor realizes his defeat and admits that he won fairly this time. Chen begins to play further with great excitement and poured bets on the whole 500,000. Girl watched everything with interest. The player speaking for Mr. Shen accepted his proposals, and the game at all speeds continued and began to gain momentum. Everyone stood next to the players and watched with interest. The young man again proposed a bet of 500,000. It was clearly his strategy. Player Mr. Shen decided to play in the pass. This time he did not waste money, but he also clearly had his own tactics. The game continues time after time. The player Shen plays pass and clearly looking for something in his opponent. Chen in the open constantly puts forward large amounts of money and is not even going to stop. He is confident. The young man has clearly played poker a million times in his life. He offers money and then plays pass, and it is not clear what will happen next. Shen's player is not an easy man either. He also offers his own amounts to bet, and he has his own moves and tricks. He is experienced after all. Chen boasts that he has won a lot of times and has already collected a lot of chips. He is not going to give up on this. Mr. Lee sees that the guy knows a lot about the game and bullies Shen, that the one he hired is not such a good player as expected. But Shen doesn't give away his defeats at all. He just insists that the young guy is just lucky because of his character. Mr. Shen clearly had a cunning plan with his player. He knew what his player was doing and was restrained. Mr. Shen recalls his conversation with his hired player, and the latter boasted that he has his own special tactics of the game. He is sure to win. Mr. Shen has already won a large amount of money in the casino tonight. It is unlikely that the casino will want to lose to him. More than 30 rounds have already passed in the game between the players, and they are again offered to bet. The guys are ready to play even more. Chen is again the first to put forward his bet, but now he offers a much larger amount than before. The player Mr. Shen immediately supports his proposal, but he sees that the guy does not look at his cards at all. Next move, the young guy raises the bet again twice as much, and the other player realizes that the guy is just relying on luck. The cards on the table that Chen is showing show that he has no tactics. He's just showing his luck, and that's it. Shen's player definitely realized that he is much more experienced than Chen and is going to play in the pot. He puts forward everything he won before and is completely confident. Everyone is watching the game with great interest and does not understand what tactics the young guy has because he does not even look at the cards. After thinking about it, the young guy agreed to his opponent's proposal and with great zeal continued to play the pot. Shen's player began to chuckle that there are not enough bets and it would be better to add a few million more for the excitement of the game if he does not mind. Chen immediately agreed to his opponent's suggestions but only asked how much more to add. Mr. Lee waved his hand and two pretty girls in beautiful costumes immediately appeared in the room. Two charming girls in attractive costumes walked with trays in their hands where there were more chips for the game. And then Chen raises his bet again, but the amount he offered is colossal. He offers 100 million. Chen's hand brings a card to the middle of the table, and the player suspects that it is the card he touches that is decisive. Mr. Shen's player was sure that he had figured out the guy and the card he moves is definitely hiding an ace. The hired player thinks that he knows exactly Chen's tactics. He discards his cards and plays pass, because if he went to the game, he would have lost. The girl also confidently thinks that the young guy has an ace up his sleeve, and that's why he's so confident. The guy shows the card to his fiancée and says that it's not an ace, he has a strategy after all. The guy hides his card and throws it on the table, and it wasn't an ace, it was just a deuce. He was bluffing. The player was furious because he knew exactly what the guy wanted to win, and because of this he put a huge amount on the line. But the player, after an outburst of emotion, sat back in his seat and just began to think about his tactics in a new way. Chen's player began to play further, but the game became increasingly tense, and he needed to restrain himself and keep in control. Chen was confident in himself. He probably for all his 1,000 years a million times played poker and knows exactly what to do. And so the player gets the card 9 of diamonds. He decides that it's time to somehow make a new step in the game. The player begins to calculate all the moves and realizes that he has a chance to win, but he must be convinced that he has made the right decision. Mr. Shen also looks at the fact that the guy is not looking at the cards at all, and he is amused by this and he is sure that they will win. Mr. Shen's player is sure that with his next move, he can win all the money and will be in a huge plus. Mr. Shen is also confident in his player and knows that the victory is theirs and already wants to taste this huge winnings. The player, fully confident, wants to finish the game and determine the winner. He knows that in a few minutes he will win. Chen unsuspectingly supports everything his opponent offers him, but he also has his own trump cards up his sleeve. Everyone in the hall sat quietly and watched the players and the game in general. The sums were large and everyone was wondering where it will lead. Mrs. Lee sat and a little hesitantly asked her brother whether her fiancé is not too much. Her fiancé bent the amount on the bet. Mr. Lee was certainly worried, but did not show it. Besides, the guy has been lucky all this time and he thinks that now he will also be lucky. Mr. Shen and his hired player are sure that the guy overestimates himself too much because they know that now they will win. The player no doubt supports the bet of 200 million and knows the outcome of the game with great confidence. The player starts to pressure the young guy. He thinks that he should have stopped before he got to such an outcome. The player is very proud to show that he is the king in poker games and is going to make his move to show himself. The player throws his card on the table with total delight. It turns out to be the 9 of diamonds, and he knows he is the winner. Everyone in the room is shocked. Mr. and Mrs. Lee were sure that they were defeated. Mr. Shen was delighted with his mercenary. Mr. Shen acted like he had the entire winnings in his pocket and mocked the Lee family. Mr. Lee pissed off this upstart, but he could not give away his temper because the game was not completely over and must wait. Chen was as calm as ever and did not understand what everyone is arguing about because the game is not over, and he makes his final move in the game. The player in front of him was shocked when he saw that in the hands of Chen for the card. He could not believe it because he was confident in himself 100%. The mercenary player poured cold sweat when he saw the final move of his opponent, and his strategy failed. Chen put the 9 of spades on the table and thus won the game where 200 million was at stake and thus beat everyone. The player does not understand how the guy was able to win because he never looked at his cards. How then he was able to predict such a move? Chen began to mock the player. He makes it clear that everything he thought about him was a lie and a pretense that he did not see. Everyone thought that Chen did not look at the cards, but he did it very tactfully that no one could see that he was peeking. Chen calms down his opponent but doesn't understand how he wanted to unravel him in a few games because it takes much more time. Chen further depressed his opponent that everything he did was just a game and he was provoking him on purpose. Chen's player was very much down in himself. He could not think that he would still fail because he had thought through all his actions. The opponent was depressed by his loss because he was already sure that he had the winnings in his pocket, and everything turned out like this. Now, Mr. Lee mocked and joked about Shen because all the money he played on were borrowed and they need to pay them back. The player wanted to somehow justify himself to his employer, but he only angrily called him outside to talk without witnesses. Abruptly from the table stands up Chen and asks that Shen and his player are not in a hurry to go anywhere, something he is still planning something that no one knew about. Mr. Shen is outraged and asks that they just leave them alone after such an embarrassing loss. Mr. Lee doesn't mind that they leave, but decides to ask his son-in-law what he wants from them. Chen again behaves mysteriously and secretly says that he will explain everything afterwards and asks for a knife for his own purposes. Mr. Lee gives his knife to the young man and with a smirk asks if he knows how to handle weapons because they are dangerous. The young man takes the knife in his hand and deftly begins to twist it in his hand, showing that he will definitely be able to use it for its intended purpose. The young guy holds the knife in his hand confidently, but nobody in the hall understands what he is up to and what it is all for. Suddenly, the guy with a nonchalant face and with a knife in his hand began to go straight at the player with whom he was playing poker. His coolness was no limit. Chen sharply grabbed him by the arm, but the player does not understand why he attacks him with a knife, because he did nothing. An ace card falls out of the sleeve of the mercenary player. It turns out that the player even managed to cheat during the game, but it still did not help him. Mr. Lee was so shocked by this outcome he did not understand how his son-in-law is so informative and knows everything in advance. Chen explains that during the game the player painted to count the cards, and in a moment he could steal a card. He noticed it but wanted to end the game. Mr. Lee was furious. He could not even think that in his presence someone would dare to cheat, and even for such amounts. Mr. Lee was very angry and wanted to immediately hear an explanation from Mr. Shen because it is his player and he is responsible for him. The player in turn tries to dismiss the fact that it is his card. He does not want to admit his guilt and tries to evade. Chen bloodthirstily attacks the player and tries to do something to him. The man tries to get out by any means he can to save himself. Chen reminds him that everyone must play by the rules, and if they don't obey the rules, the outcome will be very dire. Chen takes a knife and swings it directly at the hired player because he cheated and now he has no forgiveness in the gambling world. Chen's face was too nonchalant and he swung the knife at the gambler without any regrets or remorse. The player was left without a hand because of his cheating. He never thought it could happen to him, but he paid the price. The player sat on the floor pierced with pain from the loss of his hand, and Chen stood over him, and he turned to Shen because he was also involved. Mr. Shen looked at the horror of everything from the outside, was in complete shock. He convinced everyone that he did not know about this fraud. After all this, Chen calmly gives the knife to Mr. Lee and says that he is too tired of everything and he needs to rest. While Chen was leaving, he discreetly whispered to his fiance's brother not to go near Shen in the club. Mr. Lee listened to the guy but was certainly discouraged by his actions and all his behavior today. Chen immediately went towards the exit with his fiancée, and she indignantly thought that he was very bloodthirsty. The guy replied to the girl that he is a perfectly normal guy, and this is just an event that happened. Chen realizes that he had to do it with the player's hand, otherwise he was perceived differently and he had to go for such an act. The girl was walking behind the guy and could not understand what kind of dough he is from, because they do not know each other much, but he shows himself everywhere he can. Mrs. Lee was a little confused because the guy had just done such a thing and nonchalantly goes without giving the impression, but whether it can be that he took people's lives. A cool luxury black foreign car was driving along the highway at an incredible speed, overtaking everyone who could be on his way. In the car was our hero and his fictitious fiancée. The girl was surprised that the guy is so good at gambling. Guy was very pleased that he was appreciated, but he reminded the girl that he for these services need to pay well. The girl realized that the guy only wanted money and that he had his own overall gain from all this that he was doing. The guy was silent for a second and looked somewhere out the window. His face became very serious, and he was thinking about something. The guy sat and watched. Somewhere in the distance, the girl sat watching from the side and did not understand what he was doing. The girl was getting nervous because he was behaving differently and decided to ask him what happened and why he was behaving like that. The guy calmly told the girl that someone had organized a surveillance and a car was following them. The driver who was driving them also noticed something and said through his earphone that the car was being followed by unknown people. The girl sitting in the car was not very calm and asked the driver to try to get rid of them, and that was it. Mrs. Lee was sure that most likely she was followed by Ding Juilong because he always tries to hurt her. The guy immediately realized that they were not being followed by Juilong. He was sure that it was someone else, but not yet fully understood. Chen warned that the car that followed them was not following her, but most likely she was following the young man. The guy affectionately put his hand on the girl's arm and warned that he would take care of everything and she did not need to worry. The girl is not much melted. She realizes that the guy got into such a moment to show off himself. Mrs. Lee realizes that the guy is not so bad. He is quite handsome and charismatic. The girl takes his hand away from hers and realizes that the guy probably wants to eat because they have already spent a lot of time together. The girl offers to treat the guy because today he has worked hard and helped with many serious cases. A huge skyscraper has everything that is necessary for people, and there is a good restaurant. The girl and the guy sat together at a table, but in the restaurant there were many acquaintances of the mistress, and the guy thought that they came in vain. The girl, on the contrary, specially came to this restaurant so that many people could see them together as a couple. A powerful man who knew Mistress Lee warmed up to the couple and came up to her to say hello and express his respect. The girl also stood up and greeted her acquaintance, noting that she was here with her fiancé and they were on a date. The girl introduced Chen to her acquaintance and told him that he was the chairman of Longchen Innovation Group and was a respected person. The man was pleasantly surprised, and he was pleased to be introduced to such a young man, especially the fiancé of the lady. Chen was also very polite and reacted positively to being introduced to Mr. He showed good character. Mr. apologized for disturbing the couple with his visit and disturbing them, and he urgently had to leave on his business. Mr. had an important meeting scheduled and his client had already arrived at the place, so he had to leave and leave them too. The girl sat and talked about the man she had just introduced to her fiancé and said that he was very fond of making acquaintances. But the arrogant young man interrupted his fiancé and asked her not to tell him what he knew more than her. The girl with sarcasm guy has already annoyed her that he is all of himself and everything in the neighborhood knows better than others and does not count with anyone. The guy said that hardly anyone would want to get acquainted with her because he knows everyone and somehow in this already understands. The girl even agreed with the guy because the girl for her age was very successful and she has a lot of competitors, especially girls. But the girl still did not understand why many people consider her their enemy because she is not so bad and just fair. The guy agreed with the girl but did not comment on her character and the way she does business. Suddenly, from a pleasant dinner interrupted by a lush-breasted woman, she's sarcastic that Mrs. Lee has a young guy clearly younger than her. The guy of course knew this noxious, arrogant girl who had interrupted their enjoyment of the meal and had come to squeal. The guy knew that this girl, whose name was Liu Juan, was Li Jiobing's main rival, and she didn't hide it. Li Juan began to behave indecently and started to shame Li Jiobin for dating a guy much younger than her. Li Jiobin started to get nervous, but she didn't show it and only asked the girl not to express herself in such a tone. The girl was still sarcastic because she wanted to embarrass Ms. Li in front of everyone in the restaurant. Li Jiobin still could not contain her fervor and began to shout at the insolent girl that she would stop behaving so intrusive. Chen stopped and calmed the girl. He calmly stood up and said that he would decide everything himself and went to the nasty girl who pestered them. The guy so confidently offered his help as if he had already matured some plan and knows how to act. The guy approached the girl and started to look at her in a very strange and obscene way. She was uncomfortable that she was being treated like that. The guy stood and looked at the girl for a long time as if he remembered something or wanted something from her but didn't know how to start a conversation. The girl was already furious. She didn't understand how the guy could behave like that in front of her because she was so graceful. The guy already started to talk. He said that he did not remember where he could see her, but her face is very similar to someone. And then Chen remembers something interesting, and it seems to him that this girl who presents herself like that used to work in a regular club. The girl was furious. She will not tolerate such an attitude to herself because he accuses her of what she denies, and she does not even know him. The guy is confident, and he assures her that he knows what he is saying and remembered her. Chen says that she definitely had surgery to make her unrecognizable. Once upon a time, the girl really worked in a nightclub and was in a completely different guise, and even her hair color was different. The girl was shocked that a complete stranger knew about her past, but that was 10 years ago and no one should know about it. Mrs. Lee was also shocked by what she heard. She didn't understand how this guy could know everything about all the people around her in such detail. Chen assured his fiancée that this was not the end of the story and he definitely has a lot more to tell. Suddenly, Lu Guangnian, the vice president of the Donghai Chamber and the husband of the furious blonde, arrives. The girl in tears threw herself into her husband's arms and began to shout that the guy insults and humiliates her because everything he says is not true. The girl's husband is so angry he doesn't understand what is going on and why his wife was insulted. He wants to know who this guy is. Mrs. Lee introduces her fiancé. She realizes that something interesting is about to happen, but her fiancé will definitely be able to settle everything. The man humiliated the woman and started to measure his status and talk about how insulting his favorite woman is not forgivable. Chen was not going to long to prove to the Lord he knew what to say, after which he would realize that he was right. He said that he had a witness. The man immediately realized that the young man wants everyone to understand that his fiancé for him to vouch for him, but the Lord made it clear that this will not happen. Chen dispelled the nonsense that he wants to be covered by Mrs. Lee, and she has absolutely nothing to do with the situation. He will not involve her in it. The guy said the name of the person who he thought would confirm his words that he was telling the truth about the arrogant blonde. The man was shocked that a young, unknown guy was saying such things to him. He obviously realized that he knew a lot more than he was saying. Mistress saw how the master's face turned pale, and he began to behave somehow not natural. She did not understand what could cause such a reaction. Chen asks the Lord to go away and talk to him in private. He did not want to make a scandal in front of everyone in the restaurant. He will explain everything quietly. The gentleman followed the young man as he had asked, but he was not happy that it had come to this. The man did not know what the guy was. The guy, going with the Lord one-on-one, begins again to offer him to listen to his stories, which in some way relate to him. Chen begins to tell the Lord the first story that he prepared for him. It is based on pure truth and facts. The guy tells how his wife 10 years ago got a job in a club to earn good money at the initiative of her lover. The man his wife started having an affair with was powerful, and when he was told he couldn't have children, it broke him. The man shared with his girlfriend that he can't have children now, and it is not even realistic to make eco, and then the girl thought of something wrong. The girl pulled off an unimaginable plan. She went to a surgeon and did plastic surgery on her face so she wouldn't be recognized. After the girl changed her body, she started dating a man again as a new girl, and after 3 months, she got pregnant by him. The girl tried her best because her child was not from her lawful husband, and she had to negotiate with many people to make it happen. The guy again appealed to the Lord. He is already direct text says that all that he told is his life story, but he does not want to believe it. Chen explains that his woman is very insidious, and she will not stop just so in the end, she will arrange an accident and he will die. The man listened attentively and was silent all the time, but then said that all this is absurd and it cannot be believed because he does not even know him. The guy further began to give arguments and said that if her brother still works in his company, then no doubt it is her lover. Chen speaks very convincingly, and he is convinced that the two lovers are still on the side meeting and divorcing him. The young guy even cites the fact that his wife yesterday met him on the stairs, in the company where there are the least number of people so that they would not be caught. The gentleman was shocked at such details of his personal life, and details about his wife the guy suggested to ask her directly. Mrs. Lee stood next to the wife of the master and waited for her fiancé to settle things, and finally everyone will get what they deserve, especially the blonde. The man came running in angry and testy and immediately started questioning his wife where she was with her brother yesterday and where she went. The man was serious. He wanted his wife to answer clearly, quickly, and clearly, and definitely not start lying to him because he was on the verge. The girl was stunned that her husband was asking her such questions, but she said that they were in the office, but the husband said that their answers were different. The girl started to get confused in her answers. She started making up things on the fly to answer and offered to call her brother and just clarify. At some point, the girl again started yelling and raging that he stopped loving her and also stopped loving their son. The man could no longer hold himself in check, couldn't take it anymore, and slapped his wife on the cheek, saying that he knew about their affair. The man shouted menacingly for the girl to immediately get out of his sight. Now they will settle things at home. The girl took her purse and put her hand to her cheek, which her husband had hit, and went home upset from the restaurant, and now she was in big trouble. The Lord was ashamed in front of the boy and the lady that it had happened like that, and especially in front of their eyes there had been a fight that should not have been shown. Mrs. Lee assured the master that everything will remain between the three of them, and they will not tell anyone about this incident. Everything will remain a secret. The man still can't believe that he was fooled so easily because he wants children so badly, and she deceived him so sneakily. The man was shattered by this whole story. He did not know how to go on because he had lived with her for so many years, and now everything fell apart in one moment. The guy interrupts the man and tells him that he has a wonderful son and he will be just like his father, fair and very happy. The man was puzzled because only recently the guy had told him that his child was not his own. So what had he not told him? The guy reminds the Lord that he had several stories prepared for him, and he did not tell him everything, and he has something more interesting. Chen began to tell that about a woman and a man who had been friends since childhood and could have lived all their lives together if they had gotten their way. The man soon got rich and just started cheating on her. Soon, he ran away from her with his girlfriends and money and left her pregnant. The girl was pregnant by him and soon gave birth. Though no one wanted her to do it to the child when he grew up, she said that the father died. The baby that the woman gave birth to soon grew up and became strong, got on his feet, started working, and started his own family and now lives happily and well. So the boy assures the gentleman that he can definitely have children, and he even has a granddaughter. The gentleman really wants to know his son's name. The guy naturally tells the man what his son's name is and says that he has taken his mother's surname and lives decently now. The man realizes that the mother of his child never got married after he left her. He was very upset about his action in the past. The guy does not hide and directly says that the woman after the last incident just disappointed in men, and she does not need them. The woman who carried his child and put him on his feet lives in Donghai, and she knows about the master and that he is rich and powerful. But the mother of the Lord's real child doesn't even want to hear about him because he has brought her so much pain and disappointment in her life that there is no comparison. The guy stood all told the Lord and at some point began to pull something out of the pocket of his jacket, something very small. Chen pulled out of his pocket a small paper on. It was written the address of the woman. The man was very happy about it and took the note. The gentleman took the address and happily went to apologize to the mother of his child. He promised that he would now be Chen's debtor. Mrs. Lee realizes that now the man will have a very good attitude towards her fiancé. The guy is also glad that he has a useful man on his side. The evening was coming to an end, and Mrs. Lee drove the guy to his house in her private car, and the guy stood by the car saying goodbye to her. Chen was about to go home, but the girl stopped him and asked him to stay a while. The guy does not understand what she still wants. Mrs. Lee called the guy to her and said that she had something important to say to him and pointed her finger to bring him closer. The guy stood looking at the mysterious and reserved girl and did not know what she wanted, but flew again to the window of her car closer. Suddenly, the girl sharply grabbed the guy by his sweater and strongly pulled him to herself, and their lips merged in a passionate and searing kiss. After the kiss, she whispered to him very quietly that Ding Jului Lun often sends people to watch her and let them look at her new fiancé. The guy was a little taken aback by the abruptness and quickness of how she lured him in. But honestly, he sure liked it that she was asking for the initiative herself. The girl told the guy not to be deceived because it was part of the deal, and she was just fulfilling their terms for fairness. The guy went home satisfied, but he noticed that the girl was kissing so passionately that she made his lips hurt. The man said goodbye and went to his home. The car of the mistress also immediately went on his business, and the guy was free for the day. Two beautiful girls were standing near the man's apartment and were arguing about something. One wanted to leave already, but the other wanted to wait for the guy. The girl did not understand why her friend had come with her to the guy to sort things out, because she could have done it herself and sorted everything out. The girlfriend was furious. She was convinced that the guy brainwashed the girl, and she now thinks only about him, only need to do something about it. The girl after last night thought that the guy knew everything about her from her friend because he knew details of her life that no one else knew. The friend was furious about the story and wanted to deal with this guy who fooled her friend and got her involved in the story. The girl did not expect her friend to take everything so seriously. She just wanted to talk to her about the guy. While the girls were arguing and fighting about Chen, he was almost to his apartment and did not know who was waiting for him at the door of his house. The girl immediately noticed this guy and showed him to her friend that he was the man she was telling her about. The guy walked to his apartment confidently and saw the girls waiting for him at his door, one of whom he remembered exactly. The friend immediately attacked the guy with accusations that he was a cheat and a villain, but the guy asked her not to yell at him. The guy reached into his pants pocket and the girlfriend thought he was threatening them and started fighting him off with a stun gun. Chen calmly pulled his keys out of his pants and walked past to open his door, showing he was unarmed. The girlfriend was furious that the guy was so calm and completely unresponsive to her threats, and made no excuses. The girlfriend became so nervous that she decided to act after all and started attacking the guy from the back. Suddenly, the guy began to tell the friend who was going to attack that her lover is cheating on her and even called his name. The girl didn't understand what he was talking about, but the guy started to tell her that her boyfriend had a mistress and he came to her because of the money he had spent. The girl could not believe what this stranger was telling her, but he was so convincing, and even told her the house and apartment where the mistress lived. The guy convincingly told her everything, and if she didn't believe him, he suggested that she just call him and check if he was at home now. The girl agreed to call her boyfriend, but she was sure that the guy was lying and just wanted to see for herself. The girl called her boyfriend and decided to check on him. She asked him to check that there was money in the drawer, but he didn't answer and hung up on her. Lily realized that her boyfriend was lying, and in a rage, she rushed at full speed to deal with him. Her friend did not even realize how she ran away. Chen, not thinking, Long grabbed the girl and lifted her in his arms and offered her to talk to him in his apartment. The girl was shocked by his behavior. The girl was nervous and did not understand why he took her in his arms and dragged her to his apartment, because she came just to talk. The guy cavalierly just thinks that the girl is tired and started to carry her in his arms, but the girl does not like it. The guy, as usual without resentment, just carries the girl into his apartment, and she yells at him to let her go. Chen woke up early in the morning and sat brooding on his bed. He was in good shape and looked attractive. The guy was getting dressed and was about to go somewhere in his bed, lay that girl who was at his place the night before with her girlfriend. The guy put on his shoes and asked the girl if she was still asleep. The guy was already fully dressed and was in a hurry. The girl was all embarrassed and without clothes lying in the guy's bed and grumbled at him that she had not slept just because of him. Unexpectedly for the girl, the guy threw a crumpled paper in her bed. The girl did not understand this gesture from him and did not understand what this note was. The guy threw the girl his phone number in the note and told the girl to call him whenever she wanted and not to wait for him under the door. The girl was very pleasantly surprised that the guy finally gave her his number, and she seems to like him a lot. Chen went about his business, leaving the girl in his apartment, and went out. On the street, the guy realized he was being followed and even realized who. The guy walked and pretended he didn't know he was being followed. He took his phone and called someone to help him. The guy on the phone got through and made it clear that he knew who was following him and invited the person to his gym to discuss it. The guy was at the gym and he was practicing martial arts and was pretty good at it, but he still wasn't happy. While he was practicing, he was thinking that he had messed up some very dangerous and influential people, and now he didn't even know how much trouble was waiting for him. While the guy was studying to him, came a man whom he invited on the phone and who he thinks followed him in the morning from home. Chen saw that the guy he called came, although he thought that the man might refuse his invitation. Influential people from the life of banditry and crime always banded together, and they all entered this already at an advanced age with their experience. Zhang Guan, the man who came to the guy, was the youngest of all the mafia bosses and had achieved this success in just a few years. Zhang Guan wanted to justify himself to the boy because he didn't want to do anything extra, but just wanted to keep him safe. Chen says he's not happy with what he did, and it's unlikely that his fiance's brother knows he was being followed. Zhang Guan was not himself, because he realized that the guy is not so simple and there could be big problems because of him. The guy makes it clear that he is not going to snitch on him because it's not in his rules. Zhang Guan asks with an exhalation what he would like from him. Chen just asks for friendly help from Zhang Guan and remarks that his guys could help him with some things. The guy sat quietly drinking water after practice, and his negotiator certainly didn't mind being his new friend. The guy realizes that he knows a lot about everyone in this city, but if he has helpers, it will be much better than alone. The young man received a phone call from someone who asked him to come and help him urgently, and he promised that he would be there as soon as possible. Zhang Guan realized that Chen needed to go urgently on business and offered his car and said that there was a change of clothes if he needed them. Chen was very impressed by the guy's action and gladly agreed because he didn't have his own car yet. It was a good option. The guy arrived at the office of his fiancée and saw that there is a complete mess, all nervous, and something serious happened. The guy came in all carefree as always and sees Mrs. Li. She was clearly worried about something and nervously talking about someone on the phone. The guy came in happy and full of energy. He decided to ask what happened and why everyone is so worried. The girl says that their face of the company was a very popular singer, and not long ago she was in a very serious accident. The girl who was the face of the company was in a very bad condition and lay unconscious in the hospital, all crippled after the terrible event. The guy realized that all this is not for nothing, because only yesterday he helped his fiancée to betray the traitor of the firm, and now this happened. The girl was furious because they agreed with their rival not to put in each other's wheels. The guy offers the girl his help and says that he can easily find her a new representative of her firm and will spend the day. The girl is already exhausted in the morning and doesn't understand how he can find her a new face of the company in a day because it's not so easy. The guy gives her his phone and shows her a photo of a first-class actress who is very popular and has many followers. Mrs. Lee realizes that such a star will definitely not do business with them because it is a first-class star and he will not be able to persuade her. The girl realizes that the guy really wants to help, but they cannot get a star of this level and she does not believe that the guy will succeed. The guy realizes that the girl doesn't believe him and offers her a deal that he will definitely be able to get her. The star that Chen wants to get is hanging on all the big boards of the city, but he confidently tells the girl that tomorrow she will be at her office. Tao Manyun is a very beautiful movie star and a first-class model. She's gorgeous in all her looks, and the girls don't know how to get her. The star that the guy wants to persuade is a very popular actress, and she is also the highest-paid actress in China. The girl does not believe the guy because the star refuses to contract even the most influential foreigners, and she will refuse them all the more. The girl is tired of arguing and denying the young man, and she wants to agree even to a bet only if he would shut up. The guy offers to make a bet that tomorrow a real star will come to her office, but if he loses he will owe 20 million. Chen warns that if he wins, Mrs. Lee will have to pay him 20 million and she will not go anywhere. The guy asks the girl if she will be jealous, but the girl was indignant because they are only pretending to be a couple but are not. The girl says that he can look for anyone he wants. She doesn't care about him or who he is with. The guy agrees with the mistress and they make a bet. Now he has to get the star to win the bet. The guy asked Mrs. Lee to credit him now 20 million so that he can do everything with the star. The guy came out of the office and in his head immediately formed a plan, but for this he needed help because it is impossible to act alone. Chen immediately remembered that he got himself a companion today and immediately called him and asked for help. Chen and his friend came to the gambling club. Jiang Guan did not understand what urgency brought him to the gambling club. The guy did not tell him about his plans. Jiang Guan tells the guy that all his men can play very well, but he doesn't understand why he needs it right now. Chen came up with his strategy and asked Jiang Guan and his men to sit down at their computers and start playing the game Lord of Legendary City. The guy had special instructions for his fellow players. He told them to play at 5 o'clock sharp under the nickname King Hegemon. All participants do everything strictly according to the guy's instructions, and he in turn creates his clan in the game and throws 10 million into the game. All participants of the game led by Chen has been playing for 4 hours without taking off from computers, and all players like this game very much. Jiang Guan was in general delighted with the game because it was the first time he played on such a server, especially when the account of millions of money. All the players played with great interest in the game. They could not even imagine a task of this kind because it is like a vacation. They passed level after level and increased their ranking, pumped their equipment, and opened new maps of the game. Jiang Guan meets a guy in the game and they want to discuss something. The guy just stood there watching everyone from the sidelines. Jiang Guan tells Chen that their squad will need $8 million worth of equipment to get through the harder levels. Chen replies that there are no more regular players left on the server, only them and the dragons, and now he wants to start the second phase of the strategy. Chen valiantly calls all his players to the town square to defeat the dragons that are left in the game. A very fervent and enthusiastic battle breaks out in the square. Everyone is fighting for their clan and no one is going to be the first to concede. The guy again urges everyone to fight, but at the same time the guy has his own strategy in the game about the dispute. Chen meets one player in the game and he sincerely admires him for investing so much money in this fight, so he is a real fan. The player who admired Chen is the leader of the Dragon Clan, and he says that since they are equal in strength, the battle will show who is the cooler of the two. Chen is calm about the conversation with the leader of their rival and does not object to anything he says. On the contrary, he knows who will win. The player does not understand why the guy is sure that his clan will win, because at a lot of forces, experience, and weapons, he even became curious. But then Chen answers his rival that he is not going to beat him. He knows that the opponent will win and will not resist. The player did not understand why Chen said so about his winning, and in turn, the guy started to give his orders to the clan that plays for him. Chen orders his clan to take off all their equipment that they bought. Something guy is thinking, because it's not all for nothing. Chen then orders his clan to lay down their weapons and leave the game so the winner will be alone, and it won't be them. The player who played for the dragons was shocked, because this is the first time he has ever seen such a move. The leader of the dragons tries to stop Chen, as he does not act fair to the game and to all the players of the game. The player who played for the dragons begs Chen to stay because he will not meet such opponents again and he really wanted to finish the fight fairly. The leader of the dragons wants to change Chen's mind because there is such a large amount of money at stake. He also spent a lot of money on equipment and his players too. Chen listened to all the belittling, but he is up to something and will not back down from his path. But it seems that his plan is about to come to an end. Chen justifies his act by saying that his woman has problems in the company and he needs to go to her rescue and look for a popular star. The leader of the dragons is ready to help the guy and immediately says that he has good connections, and if you need his help, he will gladly help. The dragon leader assures that he can help the guy, even if he needs the world's most famous actress. He just needs to call, and she will be there. Chen says he's in a hurry because he has to solve problems in the Eastern Quarter, but the player says he's from there too and is willing to meet. Chen pretended that he was not interested in talking to him, wished him good luck, and said that he was leaving the server right now. He had no time. Chen left the game, got up, and saw that there was a message on the phone from the player who paid the money and found his number, wants to meet him. Chen is delighted player fell for it, and it was necessary for him to win the dispute with his fiancée, and he almost succeeded. Chen replied that if there is anything to help, he will listen to him. The guy thanked the players for a great game and went to meet a new acquaintance. The guy went to meet with a player he lured to talk to him, but he is completely unaware of it and even wants to help. Boss Lei sat at the table and ate a pie. He was completely different from his computer player. His look and face was very stern. The guy sat across from him and introduced himself. He knew him already, after all. It was not for nothing that he went out to him, but naturally Lei did not know him yet. Boss Lei asked the young man if he knew him, and he immediately said that many people in the city knew him, and that he was an important and respected person. Boss Lei poured tea and mumbled something about his reputation in the city. He was very serious and was cautious about the strange guy. Boss Lei started to ask what family Chen was from. He was very interested because he had a lot of enemies and he needed to check the guy out. Chen doesn't answer, but wonders why he is so wary of him, because he doesn't know him at all, and he can't hurt him in any way. Chen knows everything about his family and the business, and their annual income is 60 billion, and his family are full owners. The guy realizes that no one in their right mind would go against the Lei family because then they would be considered traitors. Lei's boss asks him again what family he is from, and he wants to hear the answer. The guy replies that he is not from any family, and the fact that they met is just a pure coincidence. Boss Lei suspects that the guy was probably sent by his rival Lei Yu, although he has his doubts because the guy looks like a pizza delivery boy. Boss Lei asks to tell Chen about his problem because he invested a huge amount of money in the game, and the problem of his fiancée is not solved. The guy started to play on feelings. He told that his fiancé's company was framed on purpose, and the representative was shot down on purpose too. Boss Lei doesn't understand why the guy threw away so much money in the game, if only to blow off steam through the game. But Boss Lei is ready to help the guy because he has already promised him in the game that he will do his best. The guy tells him what kind of company his fiancée has. Boss Lei laughed when he found out that his fiancée was Li Jobin because he had already made up a lot of things, but the guy says that he is not them. Suddenly, Chen got a call on his cell phone. He picked up the phone and it was Li Jobin talking to him. She called him for a reason. The girl called to ask the guy if it's true that he blew her 10 million on computer games because she gave him the money. The guy agrees but doesn't explain anything to her because she wouldn't understand. The girl was already in shock from the amount of problems she had. Boss Lei heard the guy talking to his fiancée and didn't quite understand how his fiancée would kneel in front of him and why she would do that. The guy just explained to him about the bet and that his fiancée is very nervous and always reacts to everything very harshly and doesn't explain. Boss Lei holds out the tea to the guy again and gently asks the guy what the bet is about. He was very curious to hear. Chen explains that he really wants to help his fiancée, but she doesn't want to put him in danger and won't let him, because her opponent is Ding Ruilong. Boss Lei says he knows him and a lot of people know him. The guy says he's probably the one who's bothering her and the girl is afraid he'll be next. Chen starts to show emotion and says that he can't stand by for anything, because then he won't be a man if he doesn't protect his woman. Boss Lei supports this guy. He understands him as a man and thinks he is doing the right thing and wants to hear the continuation of the story. Chen tells that they made a bet and the fiancé owes him a chance to show himself in her company with her. And if he finds a star and the conference goes great, then he wins the bet. And if it goes bad, then he loses. The guy also added that when he loses, then his word will be nothing and he will become Li Jobin's errand boy. Boss Lei scattered and said that he would definitely find him a beautiful and popular star for his conference, so he would definitely win. The guy sat and listened to Boss Lei talk for help because the guy had assumed everything was going according to his plan, and even better. Beautiful, lushly breasted just took a bath and heard that she received a call on her cell phone. She picked up the phone and picked up the receiver. The girl was very happy with the man who called her. She called him daddy. Most likely it was her godfather. Boss Lei asked the girl to come to his town, that he had found her a job and she needed to help a very good man and not to worry about money. The guy was shocked that the man so quickly solved a problem of this level. He knew that it will work, but did not expect that so soon. Chen was shocked that everything worked out so smoothly, and from the first time, not for nothing, he had planned everything so clearly in his head. Boss Lei asks the guy to call him brother. Even though they know each other recently, he likes him a lot. Chen does not mind. Boss Lei thinks it's fate that they met in the game and then became friends in life. The guy sends a message to Boss Lei and asks him to look it up in his phone that he sent him and familiarize himself with it. Chen threw the man's license plate number and said that he would use it to find the owner of the car that caused him to have an accident 10 years ago. Boss Lei was furious at what he had heard. Apparently, the story that happened 10 years ago strongly hurt his feelings until now. The guy warns that Brother Lei should hurry up because the culprit of his accident will go abroad and he will be missed. Boss Lei has already warned his men to immediately apprehend this man, but he needs to hurry to avoid missing him. Boss Lei remembers that fateful day 10 years ago when a truck drove into his car and there was a huge and terrible accident. Boss Lei reacted to the truck instantly and tried to steer with all his might, but the car still flipped over and went off the road. The car flew off the road at a high speed and the man tried but failed to swerve. He fell and the car was engulfed in flames. The man miraculously survived this terrible accident, but his wife, who was in the car with him, lost her life right in front of his eyes. Boss Lei was very seriously injured after the accident. He was in the hospital on artificial ventilation of lungs, and his agent investigated the case. Lei's agent found the person who was the instigator of the accident. It was Sen Shengjun, who was the chairman of the head of the security department of Hongfa Group. After the accident, Boss Lei's men could not find the culprit. He hid very well or fled abroad. Boss Lei could not normally cope with the loss of the person he loved. He just began to drink a mountain of alcohol and go clubbing. Boss Lei played computer games 24 hours a day to avoid remembering the horror, but he waited for the hour of reckoning with the culprit. An agent ran into the boss and said they had the identity and address of the person they were looking for. Boss Lei told Chen to call if there was anything. Boss Lei went first and told the guy that he owed him a lot, and if he had any problems, he could feel free to contact him. Chen is flattered by the responsiveness of the man. He was very happy to make such a good acquaintance, especially since yesterday he had also made a useful man as a friend. The guy dials his fictitious fiancée but can't get through because the girl put his number on hold. Chen was surprised. The guy received a message on his phone that the girl was busy, but he realized that the girl was mad at him for losing money at the computer club. Chen went personally to the office to solve the issue with the girl, and on the way stood in traffic near him, stood a lot of luxury foreign cars as a selection. The guy, while looking at the cool cars, noticed something among them. One car was very familiar to him. In the luxury car with a half-open window sat a beautiful girl who was the most beautiful woman in eastern China, Su Qingying. The guy remembered when he was locked in a time loop he met her, and the girl gave his heart the most with her charm. The guy decided since they met live on the road, there was no time to waste to somehow get her attention before she left. The guy rolled down his window and politely helped the girl, smiling at her in her wake. He was very sincere in his actions and he wanted a response. The girl did not respond at all to the guy's gesture and closed the window so that no one else would look at her. The guy did not like the fact that the girl turned away from him. He decided to act differently and wrote her a message with a very worried text. The guy wrote in the message her secret code, and he knew that after this message, the girl would definitely call him for a conversation. Suddenly, the guy gets a message. He thought it was the girl who answered him so quickly, but it was Li Zhoubin's brother, and he asked to meet him. Boss Li and Chen stood in front of a fancy mansion, and the brother complimented him on the house with its beauty and bulk. He said the house was his. Chen was shocked. The brother said he couldn't let his sister and her fiancé live in some old house, and the guy had helped him out in business yesterday. Chen stood looking at the luxurious house, listened to everything that told him the brother of his fictitious bride, and did not understand what to answer to all this. The next morning, a girl arrived at Li Zhoubin's office with her security detail. She stood at the reception desk and waited to meet the company director. The girl at the front desk asked what the beautiful girl's name was. She said they could call her Tao. The girl rushed over very quickly to them. The girl started looking for the appointment but couldn't find it and asked the girl to wait a little while. She sorted everything out. Lish was having a conference with her staff and was furious that the conference was in 13 days and her people hadn't found a representative yet. Li Zhoubin was in a panic that her employees were doing so poorly because she had raised their bonuses several times to find a star. Suddenly, the girl got a call on her phone saying that there was something wrong with her schedule and that her appointments didn't match up with her people. The girl said that Tao was waiting for her in the lobby and she didn't have an appointment. Zhoubin ordered to immediately invite the star to her place and realized who could have called her. Mrs. Li met with Tao and apologized for waiting. Tao held no grudge and told her about her husband, that he was a very nice man. Ms. Li Robin invited Tao to sit down and tell her how it was that they met her husband, and she wanted to know the details of the event. The girl told Mrs. Lee that she did not know her husband personally, but that her godfather was a good friend, and he had asked him for a favor. The girl tried to connect in her head and could not believe that it was even possible that Chen invited such a star to their office. Suddenly, the girl's secretary came and asked for the representative's signature, and Lee Robin asked for the contract to sign it with the star. The girls shook hands as colleagues and wished for a fruitful cooperation in the company without unnecessary emotions. Lee Jobin was sitting in her office as Chen came and began to remind her that they had a bet, and it was time for her to fulfill his conditions because he won. The girl did not deny it, but just asked how he knew Lei Chen, because it is a very important person in the world of business. Chen began to guffaw and said that he just does not want to reveal all his secrets, so immediately better, it will be a secret. Chen asked the girl not to change the subject, because the bet said that if she loses, she must apologize to him on her knees. The girl got up from her chair and began to take off her jacket. The guy did not understand what she wanted to do. Then the girl began to take off her shoes. Chen carefully watched everything and waited to see what would happen if she would fulfill the agreement. And suddenly, the girl began to speak and formally introduce herself with a very restrained look, and she did not believe that she was doing it. The girl apologized and sat down on her knees and fulfilled what they had agreed and argued about yesterday. The guy didn't expect Lee Zobin to fulfill all the conditions of the bet and even kneel down. He was of course delighted. The guy asked the girl to stand up because she had fulfilled everything. Chen was certainly not sure that the girl will go to such a thing, but it turned out she keeps her word. The guy helped the girl to get up and she got a call from her brother who said that serious people started digging under her fiancé, but why they do not know. Some girl who belongs to Sue's family starts to find out information about Chen and wants to find him and understand who he is. The girl doesn't understand why the Sue family is digging up her fiancé, but Chen says it's just his problem and she doesn't need to get involved. The girl asks him not to be such a cool and hidden character, thinking that he just wants to attract attention because he fell in love with her. The guy does not understand why he should fall in love with her because he has seen women and prettier, and she always walks around with a dissatisfied face. The girl, of course, did not like the tone of the guy. She hints to him that he probably found a girl richer and prettier than her. The guy started to tell her that he had many women, and all of them were richer than Lee Zobin, and there were many even prettier than her. She wondered who it was. The guy realized that the girl wanted to know who he had been with, and then she could find out what kind of man he was because there was not much information about him. The girl accepted that the guy does not want to say anything about his adventures. In the end, they are a fictitious couple, nothing more. Suddenly, the guy starts to get a call from someone and he realizes that what she started in the morning is gaining momentum and is going according to his plan. The guy gets a call from Su Qingying, the girl he was trying to flirt with in the morning, and she asks him to meet her. The girl insists on meeting with the guy. She emphasizes that some personal things he wants to discuss face-to-face. Lee Jobin is very surprised that Su Qingying herself called the guy. She can't believe that this girl could be his girlfriend. The guy says with a smirk that Su Qingying is not his girlfriend, but he wants to fix it in a couple of days and she will definitely be his girlfriend. The girl has never met Su Qingying in her life, but she knows about their family and their world of people who know about each other. Lee Jobing heard that her father married late, so he was already old when the girl was born. He raised her as befits the aristocracy and strictness. Su Qiying always went with a guard. Even when she was studying abroad, her guard had to make sure that she did not get involved in any relationship. Soon, her father fell ill and became ill, but he was very worried about his daughter's fate and set strict conditions for her to choose the man she would choose. Lee Jobin can firmly say that a girl with such an upbringing as Su Qingying would not date a man like her fiancé. Mrs. Lee, laughing at the guy, confidently tells him that he can't have anything with Su Qingying and wants to bet again. The guy didn't expect that the girl would quickly agree to make another bet because he is convinced that she will lose it, but the girl doesn't think so. The guy bets that he will definitely get Su Qingying Lee in 3 days and gives her a month, but it will not be enough for him, but he does not think so. The guy girl is sure that the guy will definitely lose this time and will definitely kneel in front of her, but the guy wants to come up with conditions for her too. The guy takes the girl by the waist and says that if she loses, he will make up whatever she wants. The girl agrees to the terms of the new bet. The next day, the guy went to the place where Madame Su Qingying had invited him to. It was a countryside complex. It was big and beautiful. The guy stood at the front desk and was offered a tour since it was his first time at the place, but the guy says he has a meeting. Chen was approached by a special man who was escorting the guy around the complex to the mistress, and he said he was already expected. The guy was brought in a special car to the golf course, and there were many more guards on the course guarding and protecting the mistress. A beautiful girl was doing sports. She was very athletic, and at the same time with sports watched as the guy came to the meeting. The girl immediately paid attention to the guy and she wanted to know how the guy had written the message with her cipher and how he knew it. The guy didn't really want to answer this question and said that it's not important at the moment, but the girl needed answered. The girl realized that the guy rather wants to get a large sum of money for knowing what he doesn't have to, but the guy doesn't need money, he refuses. The girl is playing sports at the same time and replies to the guy that she doesn't care what he thinks. If he doesn't take the money, her daughter will go to him. The guy says that her security guards would do anything to him if she ordered it, but the girl says that she's using his fiance's methods. The guy is going to somehow convince the girl to react to him. The girl doesn't understand what he's talking about and what he's trying to accomplish. The guy abruptly walks up to the girl and grabs her from behind coat as if hugging her and takes her hands with a club. The girl is shocked that the guy allows himself. The guy doesn't let go of the girl, hugs her, and tells her that he is just going to show her some tricks in the game. The guy tells the girl that now the girl has proof to call security and take him away, but she stands still and does nothing. The girl doesn't understand what the guy is trying to accomplish with his antics because his fiancée is a fierce woman, and she'll bring him down if she finds out anything. Sue realizes that she has nothing to fear, but he is definitely in the crosshairs of the bride, but still the girl does not resist his advances. The guards can't figure out how to interpret the guy's advances to the girl, whether to do nothing or to treat it as an attack on the girl. The girl tells the guy that she can call his fiancée and tell her all about him, but the guy also has a lot to say about the girl and her secrets. The girl doesn't understand what he wants. He seems to blackmail her, but she's not afraid that her guards can deal with him at any moment. The guy slaps the girl on the heel and says that she won't become a good coach if he makes her look like that. The girl was shocked by such a gesture. The guards were shocked by such behavior of the guy and the girl, but they could not interfere as the girl did not ask them to do so. The guards started calling the girl's mom. They didn't know how to act in such a situation and decided that she should be notified. The guy started to teach the girl how to stand properly and keep her back. The girl obeyed him unconditionally and did what he said. The guy again hits the girl on the heel and she may even like it, but the guy says it's not professional on her part. The girl did as the guy told her. She tried to keep the right form and asked the guy for his opinion about her. The guy remarks that he can't teach anything else differently and that she is doing great and is a quick learner. It seems to the guy that the police are already rushing after him because her mother has already called her to protect her daughter. The guards called Mistress and told her everything about the guy's behavior towards her daughter. Mistress asked them not to let him go. The guards understood everything, and they were not going to let him go anywhere. They will do all the orders of their mistress and will not let him go. The girl doesn't understand how he knows that her mother is coming, and the guy offers the girl to run away together and discuss everything in private. The girl hesitates. She is from a decent family and has not done such things before. She doesn't know if she should go to such a thing with a stranger. The guy starts to convince the girl because she does not want to live like this all her life, is very boring and dull, under supervision all her life. The guy grabbed the girl's hand and advised her not to think but just run with him here and now, and pulled her behind him. The guards saw the girl and the guy running away. They were shocked and rushed after them with all their might. The guy's car was parked outside the stadium and they quickly jumped into it and quickly took off at full speed to avoid being caught up. The guards called this girl's mother and told her about the escape incident, that she ran away with a strange boy right out from under her nose. The car was speeding at lightning speed. It seemed that it could not be because the girl had never broken the rules in her life. The girl sat on the passenger seat, buckled up. The guy asked the girl because she may be scared, but she is a brave girl. Suddenly, that was expected to the girl on the cell phone began to call her mother. The girl understood that now will be. The guy saw that the girl calls and he advised her to listen to no one and live for herself. The girl was very worried and did not want to pick up the phone, but she had to answer it because it would be worse. The girl picks up the phone and her mother immediately asks who she is with. The girl replies that it is her friend and no more. The girl's mother starts yelling at the girl because she doesn't even know the guy, and if she is going around with someone she doesn't understand, she has brought her up for nothing. The girl gathers her courage and thanks the guy for his advice today. She still wants to be herself for today for sure. The girl shouts back to her mother that she is a living person and does not intend to put up with her attacks anymore. The girl, after having expressed all the accumulated for all the years of guardianship, throws her phone out the car window. The guy realizes that the girl's mother can easily find them, but the girl replies that she is not going to ruin her reputation. The girl starts pouring out all her resentments on the guy and telling him how she has been living all these years and that she was not considered a human being in her own family. The girl is happy to reciprocate the guy's question to run away with her. Maybe it's her last chance to taste life. But the girl doesn't understand why the guy is so interested in her because he has a fiancé from the Lee family. The girl asks the guy if he is afraid that his fiancé will find out about them and pulls the seatbelt in the car. The girl throws herself at the man in a passionate kiss that he couldn't even suspect she would do. As the girl threw herself into the arms of the guy behind the wheel, the car began to swerve across the roadway. The guy behind the wheel started to get nervous from the girl's actions, and she also bit his lip with her kiss. The girl replied that she just wanted to do that to him, and the guy strictly told her to sit still and fasten her seatbelt. The girl was a little offended by the guy, but she obeyed him immediately, buckled up and sat still in her passenger seat. The guy remembers about the girl's Groundhog Day fetish. One of these days, he was able to attract her to him and spend an unforgettable night with her. The guy didn't realize how the girl became the perfect girl, and then she showed him her social media account. The guy read all her posts and realized that the girl is a perfect daughter, but inside she is chained and can't get out of them. The girl was not living her own life, but the one her family gave her, and only according to their rules, but not hers. The guy, when he was trapped in the time loop, spent the night with her, and he was in awe of the girl and what she could be like in his own life. The guy realized that the girl would listen to him without reproach, and so he ordered her to sit down and obey him. The guy asked her where she would like to go, and she said she would go anywhere, and the guy took her to his place. 4 hours later, the guy was lying cuddled up in his bed, and next to him was a ringing phone with someone calling him. The guy got a call saying that he had been found and started asking who was driving his car, but the guy said not to worry. Then the guy got a call from his fictitious fiancée and started asking about where he was and what was going on, why the Su family was looking for him. Chen asked the girl lying with him to say a few words into the receiver of his phones and not worry about being exposed. The girl heard his fiancé's voice in the phone and decided to say a word, dear, but she didn't understand what was going on. Mrs. Lee began to find out who was talking to her on the phone, and the girl called Su Qingying. The fake fiancé was shocked by what she heard. Mrs. Lee started to nervously ask the girl what kind of relationship she had with the guy, but the girl replied that they were just friends. Mrs. Lee realized that something strange was going on, and she asked the girl to hand the phone to the young man. The woman, in a rage, began to find out from the guy where he is now, but he calmly answered that he was in the house that was given by her brother. Mrs. Lee was not going to find out more on the phone and said that she would soon come to him and talk to him. Chen was very cheerful because he imagined what was going to happen when Mrs. Lee arrived, and the girl asked him if he was not afraid of it. The guy assured the girl that their relationship was just a fake with Li Zhoubing, but it was their big secret that couldn't be told. The guy asked the girl not to tell anyone about it, and the girl started freaking out because she realized why he was so fearless. The guy pressed the girl gently to himself by the waist and thought that she regretted everything. But she said that she did not regret this day at all. At this time, while cooing car Mrs. Lee flew at full speed to the house where they are, she wanted to immediately completely understand. The girl cannot understand how it happened that such a girl from a very rich aristocratic family was together with a guy. Mrs. Lee does not understand how all the girls hang on the guy and is charmed by him on the same day because even the Star Tao signed a contract. Mrs. Lee thinks that the guy is not a human being or that he has some kind of ultimate power to charm girls. 40 minutes later, Mrs. Lee rushed to the house that her brother had given to the guy and stood nervously at the front door while the guy invited her in. Li Zhoubing immediately rushed past the guy and started looking around the house from head to toe and searching for something. The woman immediately started shouting. She wanted to make sure that Su Qingying was definitely at his house, and it was not a provocation. The guy points his fingers in the direction and says that the girl is right here. He was behaving very calmly like a perfect winner. Guy and Li Zhoubing walked into the kitchen and saw the girl standing in a homemade apron and cooking food for Chen in full swing. Su Qingying stood behind the stove and was so happy. She clearly liked doing all this for the guy. Apparently, he impressed her a lot. The girls said hello to each other, and Mrs. Lee was sure that it was the same Su Qingying, but she did not understand how it could be. The girl was busy making soup and sweetly called the guy her darling. She asked him not to wait for her and she would soon finish cooking everything. Li Zhoubing doesn't understand what is going on here and why yesterday he didn't know this girl, and today she is cooking in his kitchen. Mrs. Lee wants to know from the guy when he managed to get acquainted with her because yesterday he did not know her, and today she is his woman. The girl stood at the stove singing different songs. She seemed happy to be here with the guy, even though she knows him for a day. Mrs. Lee can't understand how this guy could fall in love with this young girl because she is from such a good family and could not do such a thing. Su Qingying calls her lover to dinner and says that everything is almost ready to go, but only a few things are left. A cute young girl asks her man to look after a pot of soup on the stove while she goes to the bathroom. The girl is courteous to Mistress Lee. She invites her to the table to eat with them and asks her not to stand at the entrance. Mrs. Lee is shocked by this attitude, and it's not real for her because yesterday they didn't know each other and today they are living together. She asks the guy to come to her to talk to her, and she is very angry and will not tolerate his antics. The girl runs out to the guy and informs him that she is done with his laundry and asks his permission to hang everything on the balcony. Li Zhoubing looked at it all as if it were some kind of show of two lovers. She was all in the wild. She still did not fully believe the girl. The girl fluttered like a butterfly with her chores around the house and showed how she liked it all, because she did it all for the person she loved. Mrs. Lee had a moment to herself before the girl and her boyfriend's performance, wondering if they really loved each other. Everyone sat down at the table. Su Qingying cooked a lot of delicious food and wished everyone a good appetite. She tried her best to have a good dinner. The girl began to say that she had not cooked for a long time and could not say for sure whether it would be delicious and began to feed the guy. Li Zhoubin resented it. The guy ate what Su Qingying had cooked and praised the girl, saying it was delicious, and the girl suggested that Miss Li try it. Madame confidently thinks that the guy set it up on purpose and bribed the girl and asks the girl when they met. The girl says that they met recently and immediately fell in love with each other at first sight, but Madame can't believe it. Su Qingying tells Madame Li that she knows that she and Chen are not a real couple but a fake one, so she knows and doesn't mind it. Madame Li was already furious because he even told her about the fake relationship, but did he really fall in love with that girl too? The young girl continued to say that she didn't mind if they had to show their relationship in public and continued to eat. Suddenly, the girl began to reproach the mistress that they had real feelings of love for each other and they were just fake. Mrs. Li was on the verge of this circus, but she couldn't fall into the mud, and so she just listened to what she thought was untrue. Mrs. Li demonstratively takes a large shrimp in her hands and tears off its shell. She wants to show it to the young girl too. The girl takes the shrimp and holds it out to the boy and tells him to eat it. Li Zhoubin wanted to show that she is not made of timid dough either. Su Qingying didn't understand this gesture from mistress and even got jealous. But the guy realized that he had already made Li Zhoubin too angry. The guy eats the shrimp silently and doesn't say anything. He realizes that he won the argument, and that means Li Zhoubin is even more pissed off. Everyone silently eats their lunch without discussing anything, as if they eat like this every day. The guy says that he is very full from such a delicious and hearty lunch. He was delighted by the girl's culinary zeal. Su Qingying says that she is also happy with her cooking and starts to run away from the table, but says that the guy should not leave his guest. The girl leaves the table with dirty plates. She went to wash the dishes and left them alone at the table. Mrs. Li immediately rushed up from the table and started yelling at the guy. She started charging him for making things up. Li Zhoubin was so angry at the guy that she went on an impulse to attack him with fists. The guy couldn't even foresee such a thing. The girl lunges at the guy, but the guy is not so easy. He starts dodging her and turns her sharply in the other direction. They start to almost fight or struggle with each other. The girl had so much anger against the guy that she wanted to spill it out. The girl misjudged her strength and flew straight at the guy. She didn't even realize how she got so nervous that she jumped on him. The guy tries to find a way to calm the woman down and asks her not to ask him too many unnecessary questions because it is excessive. The guy asks her to finally admit her defeat and calm down, especially since she has to work off the bet. The girl was furious because she does not know what to expect from the guy. All his antics, she was already bored and not happy with him. Chen said that he was very tired today, was on his feet all day, and all the body is buzzing, and he asked Li Zhoubin to give him a back massage. The girl immediately agreed because she had nowhere else to go and only asked where it was better to do the massage, in the room or right here. Mrs. Li and Chen went to the room to give a massage on the bed. After a few seconds, Su came into the kitchen and saw no one in the kitchen. The girl was confused because everyone was staying here when she left, and suddenly she heard strange sounds in the room. The young and charming girl went to look directly into the room to see what kind of sounds were being made and saw the door open. Su Qingying was puzzled to see in the room a guy lying on the bed with Lord Li sitting on him and giving him a back massage. Su Qingying was shocked to see a woman giving him a massage. She thought they had a slightly different relationship, but not like this. Mrs. Li was sitting on the guy giving the massage and saw the girl watching them. The guy was not scared at all, just said that they were finishing. The girl was very indignant that Li Zhoubin was sitting on the guy and didn't even resent that his girlfriend was standing next to him. She thought it was strange. Li Zhoubin couldn't help but give the guy a massage because she had lost the bet and had to fulfill his every wish, but the girl Su didn't know about it. The girl quickly started to take off her house slippers and go straight to them. She thinks that Madame is her competitor. She has to do something about it. Su Qingying runs straight to their bed. Mrs. Li did not understand what was going on and why the girl was coming to them, but she was coming fast. Su Qingying ran happily to Madame Li and offered to massage the young man together because it would be more pleasurable for him. Madame Li was shocked at the girl's reaction, as she was giving a massage to her boyfriend and the girl called her sister and didn't even get angry. Li Zhoubin thought for a second and stopped massaging, and the girl asked why she stopped. Chen asks Qingying not to help mistress and that they will finish soon, and reminded her that she needs to go get some medicine. The girl happily remembered that she had to go get medicine and agreed with the guy and said that she had to change clothes and go downstairs. The charming girl obeyed the guy unconditionally, and mistress just didn't understand why the girl was so submissive. Mrs. Li still doesn't believe the guy and the girl. She thinks that this love is nothing but a real sham and wants to hear an explanation from the guy. The guy stands up and says that Mrs. Li now owes him $1 billion, and she doesn't believe that a young girl could fall in love with him at first sight. The guy is being sought by Su's family because the girl ran away with him, and Mrs. Lee thinks the guy will marry her now, but that wasn't in his plans. Mrs. Lee doesn't understand what the guy will do with the girl because she won't let him go just like that, and he doesn't want to lose such ties. Mrs. Lee doesn't understand how the guy will do all his business with the relationship if he is considered her fictitious fiancé. Mrs. Lee realizes that she is his only option to get out of this story, and the guy has a cunning plan as always. The girl realizes that the guy is not that simple and wants to ask him why the girl ran away from her family with the first stranger. The guy explains to her that the girl just wanted to live her life the way she wants. Chung gets a call from the girl saying that her family is downstairs waiting for him. The guy tells Mrs. Lee that the Sue family has arrived. The girl was furious because she thought it was the guy's cunning plan to push them together. Mrs. Lee frankly tells the guy that she doesn't like the situation and she doesn't know how to behave in it. The girl starts to explain to the guy that she is also a human being and she has feelings and it all hurts her. But the guy didn't think it would turn out this way. The girl doesn't seem to blame the guy, but still these feelings that she has inside are incomprehensible to her and she doesn't like it. The guy starts to bring the feelings to the Lord. Lee tells her that she is acting like a hurt child even though she is a grown woman. The girl still gathers her thoughts and the guy asks her to get her act together and deal with the situation. Mrs. Lee and the guy went outside and the guards were waiting for them, and they immediately jumped on the guy to answer where he took their mistress. Mrs. Lee is serious and she makes it clear that these people have come to her and are making trouble for themselves. The guards try to explain that they came to Mistress Lee and this guy who is standing next to her as he took their mistress away. Mrs. Lee is serious, and she makes it clear to the guards that this is her man and he couldn't just steal some girl. The guards were puzzled and didn't know what to do because it was the same guy who was with their mistress. Suddenly, a young girl runs out to the guards and starts to tell them that they attacked the guy, but they said it was her mother's order. Su Qingying attacked the guards and started to tell them to mind their own business. Suddenly, the young girl's mother gets out of the car and asks her not to make a fool of herself in front of other people. Mrs. Lee is polite to Mrs. Su and tells her how beautiful she looks today, but she realizes that this is a serious conversation. Mrs. Lee also shows her politeness to Lee Jobin. She has come here for her daughter and it is not clear how their meeting will end. Madame Su greets the young man and says that the rumor about him is that he's a good-looking guy, and it's true. Mrs. Lee tells Mrs. Su that she is flattering her fiancé, and she realizes that she needs to be careful how she talks to him. Everyone was facing each other, and Madame Su asked to move to a quieter place, and Madame Lee was fine with that. Mrs. Su was very focused, but she was filled with so many emotions that she could hardly contain herself because her daughter had run away from her. Su Qingying stood behind the guy. She didn't understand what was going to happen, but there was nothing to be done. Madame Su is waiting for Madame Lee to explain why her daughter was in her company and how it happened. Mrs. Su is furious that her daughter was kidnapped and that some guy dragged her into his car, and she assures that she needs a lawyer. Mrs. Lee says she was going to meet her daughter herself, but she couldn't and had to ask her boyfriend. Mrs. Su says that she has received information that her daughter was forcibly dragged into a car from the tennis field and taken to a known destination. Mrs. Lee starts to say that her daughter is old enough to make up her own mind and she could have just not gone with the boy if she didn't want to. Mrs. Su insists that she be told everything that happened, but Mrs. Lee gets nervous because her daughter is old enough to tell her. Mrs. Lee approaches the genetic girl, hugs her, and says she is the woman who can help her with her family problems. Mrs. Su is furious that they talk about her like she's a bad mother and can't take care of her daughter properly, that she's running away from her. Mrs. Lee went over to the girl and took out some medicine from her pocket and said that the girl had bought it especially for her. Mrs. Su didn't understand why her daughter was going to someone else for the medicine. She didn't understand her daughter's actions today at all. Mrs. Lee explains that her daughter has done very little on her own in her life and that she bought the medicine for her at her initiative and she likes it. The young girl sat with her head down, unable to say anything, just listening to what they were saying. The guy was drinking tea and was thrilled that his fictitious bride could talk and explain everything in such detail. Mrs. Lee again explains that the girl was just tired of living under her mother's care, and she was happy when she helped her and her young man. Ms. Lee Jobin begins to tell the woman that she should let her daughter do what she wants to do because she will have to decide for herself someday. Mrs. Su was perplexed, she understood, as if she was being asked to say thank you for stealing her daughter. Lee Jobin was not interested in apologizing to her. She was doing it because of her kindness to the young girl and just helping her. Suddenly, the guy decided to intervene too and started yelling that he and his fiancée have been messing around with this girl all day and they are sick of it. Mrs. Lee realized that the guy just wanted to play along to make things go faster and continued talking to him. The guy started yelling like a crazy person that his fiancée cares about this girl as her daughter and he just feels sorry for her. Mrs. Lee decided to be more truthful in her role and hugged the guy and started to calm him down in public so that he wouldn't get nervous. Mrs. Lee began to hug and kiss the young man in front of everyone to show that they love each other. Su Qingying sat and watched from the sidelines. If she didn't know it wasn't real, she would have believed it. Mrs. Su thought for a moment and decided that she really should thank Mrs. Lee for deciding to help her daughter. The woman realized that the girl wished her daughter well, and she told Su Qingying that she would not be so hard on her from now on and that she had a good friend. Mrs. Lee also said that Su Qingying was a very friendly girl and that she and Su Qingying had a lot in common and that she would like to keep in touch with her. Mrs. Su said that she had taken on a lot of responsibility and would not do so in the future. She only wished the best for her daughter. Soon, Madame Su got up from the table and said that she had a ride, but her daughter was allowed to stay overnight at her friend Li Zhobin's house. Su Qingying finally exhaled. When her mother left from the whole situation, she could not have thought that everything would go so smoothly. Li Zhobing also sighed in relief when Mrs. Su left. She had a hard time lying to such powerful people all this time. Guy was also relieved when Madame Su left for two, but only now he needed to implement the next stage of his cunning plan. Li Zhobin stood at the window and watched Madame Su get into the car and drive away. She told Su Qingying about it. The young girl, after her mother, left immediately and rushed into the boyfriend's arms and noted how believable he was in his role. The guy had picked up his phone and was now going to call someone to continue his plan that he hadn't told anyone about. Mrs. Lee immediately started to get nervous and took away the guy's phone. She didn't want him to cause any more trouble. Mrs. Lee doesn't understand what the guy wants to do because now he can date a girl as much as he wants and doesn't have to do anything. The guy starts asking his girlfriend if she likes the fact that they will hide their relationship all their lives, because he doesn't want that. The guy tells the girl that if she follows him, she won't have to hide and can do what she wants, but Lee doesn't like it. The guy pats the girl on the shoulder, and as if he is pushing her to make a very important choice in her life because he must know the answer. The guy says that he will make her the head of the family, and her mother will no longer control her, and her father would be very proud of her. The guy persuasively asks the girl again if she wants to be in charge, but the girl is very worried and anxious and doesn't know what to say. The guy sees that it is very difficult for the girl to make a decision important in her life. She gets in the way and still does not understand how to be. The girl still gathers her will in a fist and answers the guy that she wants to be in charge of her family and not to depend on anyone else. The guy takes his cell phone and looks for a suitable phone number. He has something in mind. The guy starts to put his plan into reality and calls the one who will definitely decide the fate of this young girl. The girl stood in front of the guy and did not understand what he wants to do next. He was sitting in the phone and looking for someone's number, but in his plans did not dedicate. The lady and her fiancé were sitting together as if they were real husband and wife, and they looked very good from the outside. Su Qingying soon came up to the guy, grabbed his hand, and sat next to him, pressing against him to show that she also cared for him. The guy realized that now he would be attacked by two girls at the same time. He decided to put his phone on speaker so they could hear everything. The guy called the number and started talking about something, but the man on the other line didn't understand who called him. The guy set up a meeting with the man, and Mrs. Lee didn't understand how he was going to get around Su's family with the usual dirt. The guy tries to explain to the girl that he will just create an internal rift in the family, and everything will happen by itself in time. Mrs. Lee suggests the guy to reconsider his plan and act differently, but he firmly decided to act as he originally decided. Chen came to the address and left the girls to drink tea and went to a private room to talk to a man. The guy went into this private room, and the man he had called to make an appointment was already sitting inside. He had arrived even earlier. The man who was sitting in the private room immediately got up and from the table ran to the door, checked it and closed it, afraid that there would be someone else. The male director of the shareholder was nervous because the guy told him very confidential information and he didn't understand how he knew it. The man became nervous, and he didn't understand why the guy was speaking on behalf of Bai Kai-feng. He asked how much the guy paid him for the information. Yao Kunlin says he won't go for his provocation. He offers as much money as he wouldn't spend in a lifetime to get behind him. The guy doesn't want to talk about money now because he knows a lot about the man, even information that he doesn't even know about himself. Yao Kunlin is shocked that the guy knows a lot, but asks him not to jump to conclusions, because these are serious accusations. Chen tells what he knows and even about the money buried on the barren hill, and he knows that the man has huge possibilities. The man is horrified. He didn't think he would ever be exposed and offers him 155 million right now for his silence. Chen hints that he even knows that the man was helped by his mistress to pull off his fake business. The man is so shocked to hear this, and he is at a loss to offer 3 billion but wants the guy not to rat him out. Suddenly, Su Qingying and Mrs. Lee burst into their private room and started to resent them for hearing everything. The man was shocked. He did not understand how come these two mistresses were here and how it was all related to this guy. Yao Kunlin did not expect such a turn of events in such a short time. A lot has happened, and he does not know how to behave now. The guy walks up to the man and claps him on the shoulder and asks the girls why they invaded their room so early. Su Qingying was shocked that this man was involved in such things as murders and fires. She didn't think he was capable of such things. Yao Kunlin couldn't understand how he could get out of this situation because she is almost his boss, and now she knows everything. The guy asks her not to rake up the past with the man and says that he does not need money. The man does not understand then what he needs at all. The guy asks the man to just support those votes on the council. That he asks the man didn't think the request would be so simple. Yao Kunlin already thought he was going to lose his life, and then things turned out like this. The man says that he has always been in favor of Qing Ying. The man was horrified after what was happening, and his throat was dry. He drank some tea and completely agreed to what was offered. The man tapped his cup on the table and summarized that he would now support all of Su Qingying's decisions in any outcome. The man got ready to leave and said goodbye to everyone. The guy wanted to offer to walk him, but he refused and asked not to go with him. Mrs. Ali still did not understand the guy's tactics because there are many voices in the world, and he got only one. He cannot intimidate everyone. The guy is tired of explaining everything to everyone, and they don't understand what Mrs. Li wants to hear because she will understand everything later. Mrs. Li tells him again that he can't intimidate all the directors of the board, but the guy says he only needs a few. Su Xingying asks her lover how many more people he needs, and the guy says he needs 5 more people. Mrs. Li looked at this guy and thought that he is a very confident young girl, just wished him luck. Chen soon went to the marketing director of the company. He also had his own pitfalls, and he was able to talk him into his terms. After the guy went to the head of the finance department and talked to her about all the pressing matters he needed. Her voice also on the board of directors. After the finance department, the guy went to the supervisor. He needed to get all the people he was betting on. Finally, the guy went to the last director who was on his list. He managed to get all the people he needed. The guy was walking somewhere on his own and a young girl was shouting at him not to let anything stop him. Mrs. Li was also standing next to him. Mrs. Li still didn't understand how the guy would be helped by the 6 voices he had lured to his side, but she would see for herself tomorrow. The young girl ran up to the guy, took his friend, and told him that she would still obey him and do whatever he said. The guy asked Mrs. Li to let him and his lover stay at her house, and he needed to discuss something with her alone. Mrs. Li said that she was against such matters and grabbed the boy under her arm, and they went out together. Chen was surrounded by women. Mrs. Li sent the young girl to the shower and herself grabbed the guy and dragged him to the balcony. The guy did not understand what was happening. The girl hugged the guy and ordered him to hug and kiss her too. The girl had something in mind but didn't tell the guy. The girl hung on the guy out of her embrace in a passionate kiss. The guy didn't seem to mind either. They both seemed to like it. The guy did not refuse the girl because he realized that she did it on purpose, because she noticed near the house of paparazzi who filmed them. Mrs. Li kissed the guy on purpose, but this whole situation she did not like it at all. But still, she will have to bring the matter to the end. The girl and the guy kissed on the balcony, and the reporter stood outside their house and secretly photographed them. He took pictures of Ding Juilong. The girl moved away from the guy, and the guy informed her that the paparazzi had already left. The girl realized that the guy knew about it because he didn't even resist. Ding Juilong was sitting in his office in South Guan and was furious looking at the pictures that had been sent of the girl kissing on the balcony with the guy. The man was furious, and he made a decision that he must take the life of this insolent guy and must do it immediately. Ding Juilong called his most trusted subordinate from his security detail, who was a former member of the Special Forces and had an assignment for him. Ding Juilong asks Zhang to go east to find this cocky guy or solve his life, but he also wants the guy to suffer. The man keeps a file on the guy and says that the East China Sea is under Li Taizhou's control and that it's at least 5 days. Ding Juilong was inexplicably furious, and he ordered his employer that the guy should say goodbye to his life in a maximum of 3 days. The next day, the guy and his lover lay in bed and woke her up, but she lay on top of him and didn't want to wake up. Qingying didn't want to wake up and wanted to stay in bed, but the guy asked her to be patient because she would soon leave work. The guy asked the girl if she remembered what he taught her yesterday, and she confidently replied that she remembered and jumped up from the bed. The guy was surprised how after these words, the girl immediately started to get ready for work. At the same time, someone started knocking on the door. Mrs. Li came in a good mood and offered Qingying to take her to work in her company. The girl agreed gladly. Mrs. Li brought the girl to her office, and there her subordinates were already waiting for her with many questions and suggestions for the day. The girl politely said goodbye to Mrs. Li in a good mood and went to work to promote herself a step higher. The girl, after saying goodbye, changed, and her face became very strict and called all her subordinates to urgently follow her. The girl sat in the office, and her mother did not support her proposal to fire the employees of the company. Qingying asked to convene the board of directors. The young girl says that she is the deputy president of the company and she has the right to call the board if she thinks it is necessary. Qingying realizes that she can fire employees without the board's permission and has asked her secretary to notify the Human Resources Department. The girl's mom is furious. She doesn't understand why the employees deserve to be fired and says that the reputation of the company will suffer. Until today, the guy told the girl what will be the reaction of her mom, and she was already ready for it. The guy explained how it will be. The girl was sure of her actions and consequences and was ready to be responsible for them, and she had all the grounds to fire these employees. The girl started explaining to her mom about an incident that was committed 5 years ago in one of their big stores in eastern China. Qingying goes on to say that the store was robbed by someone and people started to doubt the effectiveness of their company and the stock decreased. The girl explains that the security director should take responsibility and that is how their company will solve the problems. The girl tells all of her subordinates that they will be able to bring the stock back to its former performance when they fire those employees who, the girl's mother agreed with one employee, but with the second one, she didn't understand why her daughter wanted to fire him and wanted to know the explanation. The girl started to answer for the other employee and said that he was not an employee of her company and could not be responsible for anything. The lady did not understand why he is not an employee, and the girl explained that he is her personal bodyguard and has nothing to do with the company. The girl's mother realized that her daughter just wants to rebel in the company, and she doesn't care about the reasons for firing employees. The girl's mother angrily shouted to immediately call the board of directors, which will be held at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At Mrs. Lee's company, everything was going on as usual. Her fiancé came to the woman and said he just wanted to sit in her office and draw. Mrs. Lee was puzzled why the guy was going to draw in broad daylight and asked what he was going to draw. The guy had a notebook with a pencil in his hand and answered the woman that he was going to draw her on a canvas. He was pretty good at drawing. The guy sat and thought to himself that Ding Juilong had already seen yesterday's photos and would soon be digging for the guy and he needed to act. Mrs. Lee didn't understand what the guy was making up again, and he answered her that he just wanted to draw a beautiful portrait of her and nothing more. The girl replied with displeasure that she was busy and had no time to pose for his strange hobbies in the form of painting. The guy replied that the girl could stay busy and it wouldn't bother her in any way. She could assume he wasn't here and he would sit quietly. The guy found a group in which specializes in painting. The environment of people here are a man who is in a close relationship with Ding Juilong. The guy drew a very beautiful portrait of his fiancée and sent it to this application for other people to appreciate his work. Soon, many members of the group started to write the guy reviews about his art, and that's exactly what he needed. The guy sent a picture of a portrait of a girl he had just painted and said that he was currently working on it. After a few minutes, everyone started discussing the portrait that the guy had drawn. Many called him a master and praised him for his work. The guy is absolutely sure, but there was one special person, but even in the middle of the discussion, he is still not there. And finally, he gets a message offering to be a teacher and give some advice, which is what he needed. The girl who wrote to him was Ding Ruilong's older sister, and she held a special place among his women. She was a woman who had an illegitimate daughter with him who was now 14 years old, and not many people knew about it. The girl wanted the guy to give her daughter some advice about painting. The guy modestly replied that he was not that good at it. The girl asked that the guy be modest and that he was a very good creative person and would definitely handle the advice. The guy wrote that her daughter seems to have a real talent. The girl was thrilled with her child's persistence with her talent. The guy finally got to the point where he came to the group, and he didn't think it would be much easier than he had imagined. The girl asks where the guy lives and that she would like to engage her as her daughter's tutor and offers him a good salary. The girl asks the guy not to refuse her offer and to think carefully, and that she will discuss all the details with him later in person. The guy was definitely not against. This is what he needed. He said that he is always on the phone and can answer any time of the day. The guy was thrilled that his plan had come to fruition and now he could make this girl his in the future. He was going to take control of this girl, and when she was his, she would come to Ding Ruilong and be able to fulfill all his orders. The guy managed to get the most important thing, and that is the key to the materials that can further facilitate his life. The guy stood up and told the girl that he was leaving on his own business, and she continued to work in her company because she had a lot of work. The guy realized that the woman who invited him for tutoring was just a part of his huge plan and there was still a lot to do. The guy called the man and told him that he was a double agent and that he would be in trouble if Ding Ruilong found out about his new assignment. The man on the other line denied everything and didn't know what he was talking about, but the guy managed to change his mind and asked to meet and discuss everything. Chen offers his terms and appoint a meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, says that the address will throw later message he starts his game. At Jin Fu Company, it was time for the conference. Almost all the staff and board members were there, and everything was ready. Mrs. Su officially opened the board meeting, and now they will decide on the proposals that her daughter put forward. A beautiful girl in semi-nude stood near the window against the office dressers and was clearly waiting for someone, her outfit charming everyone around her. Su Qingying sat at the head of the table and informed everyone of the agenda of today's meeting, which was originally about a small problem. The girl emphasized that since the meeting was going on, everyone would have a chance to speak, and hopefully everyone would be able to logically justify their disagreement with her. All employees of the company were excited by this warning of the girl, because it was very strict from her side and it had never happened before. Luckily, the girl was taught yesterday by the guy to act as he needed and to adapt to such a subscriber as her mother on the board of directors. The guy knew everything for the future as will happen in the company at the meeting of events, and Special beckoned to the side of the girl 6 directors of the firm. The girl announced on the board of directors all her wishes for the company, but her mother sarcastically began to say that all this is not feasible. The woman was as if afraid of her daughter and could not allow her to show her point of view to the firm. She did not expect that from her. The girl's mother started to explain for the employee that had been working for the company for more than 10 years, because if they fired him, it would upset the other employees. The fact that it was inappropriate to dismiss a good employee who had been working for a long time was supported by many board members. Mrs. saw her daughter's reaction that she did not react and started to continue to persuade her to fire the employees of the company. All directors agreed with Mrs. She was satisfied with her status in the firm and the fact that everyone took her side as a senior in the firm. The girl said that this sport with her mother will not lead to anything, and proposed to start voting and asked to raise her hand who is in favor of her. Mrs. Su showed the firm's employees that she would be furious if anyone supported her daughter's decision. But suddenly the woman saw that the board of directors and some employees started to raise their hands, and she was shocked by this action. Suddenly, more and more hands started to be raised for her daughter in the meeting, and the mother did not expect that so many votes would be against her. The woman saw the employees raising their hands one by one to show their solidarity with her daughter's point of view. Even the director of the finance department was also in favor of her daughter, although she raised her hand and was not sure but still gave her vote for the young girl. The woman resents that the finance department staff was the one she helped to promote to her current position and asked her to explain herself. But suddenly and very abruptly, Su Qingying asked her mother to stop influencing the voting and harassing the employees. The woman realized for a moment that she was overreacting. She calmed down, took a breath, and said that they could go on. The employees of the firm were sitting at the conference table and were discussing something very heatedly. Most likely they were discussing a heated meeting. The girl remembers that her boyfriend warned her that her determination would be enough to get all the employees on her side. The girl realizes that her assertiveness is not enough to convince all the employees, and she needs to be more specific. The girl seriously stood up from the table and with great zeal asked everyone sitting in the conference room who else would support her. One man who was also on the board of directors was stirring and did not know whether to support the young girl or not. However, the man who was the guardian of the company and Suru Won's most trusted and closest brother still raised his hand and voted in favor of the girl. Mrs. Su could not believe that even her brother had sided with her daughter. She did not understand what was happening today. Her brother made it clear that her daughter has grown up, and he is sure that the woman herself understands and sees everything perfectly well. The woman is furious and starts to panic and take it out on everyone because she can't believe that her daughter has become superior to her. The lady sees that her daughter has only managed to clone 9 people, but it is not enough to jump over her. Suddenly, something strange happens. All the staff shot their attention to the girl and sat waiting for next year. The girl started to act as her boyfriend asked her to do so. He said that she should make her mother surrender and show who is the boss. The girl still decided to do as her boyfriend told her, and to win by any means she could, she was going to take the next step. The girl gets up and seriously asks her mother if she's sure of what she's doing and what she wants. The woman doesn't understand what she has to be afraid of because she is her mother and is capable of many things, and even controlling her daughter in business. The young girl shows her mother that she does not do it for the interests of the company, but just to spite her daughter and make a fool of herself. All the employees realize that if they refuse the young girl and go against the mistress, the board of directors will split into 2. The board of directors catches you thinking that the conflict of the family will reduce the efficiency of the company because of this. All the employees of the company are worried about the conflict, but they don't know how to help this family to improve their relationship. Everyone realizes that if the young girl takes over the company without her mother's support, the company will collapse sooner or later. Mrs. Su realizes that there is a coalition split in the company and that not supporting her daughter is also wrong. Mrs. Su did not want to clarify the relationship with her daughter in front of everyone and just turned around and left. After her mother left, the girl again asked for a show of hands from those employees who were really ready to follow her. All of the board members unconditionally raised their hands and voted for Su Qingying. Now she had definitely won. The girl was thrilled that she had played a game that was not to be lost. Now she would definitely not depend on her mother. The young girl was now definitely the favorite of all the board members, and she showed today that she was worth something too. The guy got a call from Boss Lou and asked what he was doing today. Chen immediately realized that he needed his help with his girlfriend. Boss Lou was distracted that the guy is so smart and gets straight to the point without too much talk. Chen realized that it was too early for a scheduled meeting, and he could basically help Boss Lou with his case. Boss Lou was very pleased with the guy and immediately greeted him as if he thought he was going to tell him what the matter was. Boss Lou was horrified and showed his scar on his head from the blow. He was obviously desperate and didn't know what to do since he called the guy. Boss Lou grabs the guy's hand and asks him for help in his situation because he has no one else to help him and he knows that the guy knows exactly what to do. Chen asks Boss Lou to take his time because in this kind of business you have to go gradually to the goal, but the man is desperate. The guy and Boss Lou sat down at the table and started pouring tea. He asked the gentleman to tell him everything in detail. Boss Lou started to describe in detail everything that happened to him when he started searching for his lover. Boss Lou found his first lover and came to her with a bouquet, a diamond ring, and an expensive necklace. He even brought a fancy red Ferrari as a gift for his son, but the girl's girlfriend doesn't seem to like it much. The guy assures the boss that he cannot win the girl with the help of money, because once she refused them and for her it is insulting. The girl goes into her apartment and asks the man not to approach her anymore, otherwise they will leave town. The man seems to have figured out how to win over his ex-lover without money and comes up with something. Lou's boss asks the young guy to help him with advice to resolve the situation peacefully for both of them and the lover. The guy offered two options, one long through his son, and the second can be solved today in the near future. The man immediately chose the second option and began to ask the guy what he should do for all this. The guy says that the fast method is not so easy, but the man agrees to everything. The method is not difficult, but there are difficulties. The man assures the guy that the difficulties don't scare him now. He just asks him to tell him what he has to do to fix it. The guy begins to tell that for this case, the man needs to deny all his pride and then everything will work out. Chen sat in front of the monitor that showed from the cameras of Boss Lou, and the guy watched it because now everything depends on him. The man again stood by the door and called his lover, who had recently learned that he had a son, but the girl did not open. Boss Lou did not intend to leave until the girl opened the door and Xiao Fang came and opened the door. The girl immediately started yelling at the man not to come to her anymore and to get out of the place immediately. Boss Lou brought the girl the food they ate when they had no money and thought it would cheer her up. The girl very angrily threw the bag of food the man was holding and yelled that she didn't want anything from him. The man fell on the floor and started to pick up the bag of food. He did not know how to beg for forgiveness in front of her because he was so much to blame. Suddenly, his adult son came out of the apartment and attacked the man and said that he had to get away from their house. The girl started to freak out at her son and asked him not to interfere, that she would sort it out herself. After the couple had been arguing for half an hour, the security guard came up to them and said that they were disturbing the neighbors and they were complaining about them. The guards asked them to go to the apartment, and the woman said she didn't know the man at all and asked them to deal with it. The guards start taking the man out, and the man starts yelling that he is not going anywhere and he wants to talk to his wife. Security asks the man not to yell in the apartment complex, but the man asks them not to interfere with the old couple's argument. After the man spreads his arms, the guards think he's attacking and start beating him up so he doesn't get cocky. The man falls to the floor and says he doesn't want a life without his wife and son and will stay here while they beat him up. Chen watched this from the sidelines and thought the man was talking sentimental nonsense, but he knew something was about to happen. Soon the girl and her son started yelling for the guards to stop beating the man, and the boy even called the man father. The young boy, who was the son of the man, became very nervous because his father was being beaten in front of him. The young girl, who was the man's ex-lover, started to shout at the whole house to stop this nonsense. She asked the guards not to beat the man anymore because she felt sorry for him. The woman came up to the man and gave him her hand and told him to get up. The man was all beaten up. Xiao Fang, the man's past lover, took his hand, and the man was very happy that she had come to him. The guards who beat up the man were set up at the behest of the young guy, and they played their role perfectly. The guards offered the guy that they could continue to help him with the couple if necessary, because it was not difficult. The guy decided that there was no point in helping them anymore. Now the man could handle everything on his own. Chen, after helping Boss Lee, decided to do real things that will benefit him in the future. The guy was on his way to his meeting with a man. He called him and hurried the guy up. Chen said that he would be there soon and there was no need to be nervous, and drove off in his red car. Soon the guy did get to the cafe where his meeting was and was already entering it. The guy walked in a good mood and waved to those who were waiting for him, and he apologized for being late. The man he had made the appointment with was a double agent sitting with his guards and was very angry, even furious. The guy doesn't understand why the man is not sitting alone, as he doesn't want to discuss his dirty deeds in front of everyone. The man with the guards was already out of his mind with rage and did not realize that the guy is standing in front of him who sets him conditions. The guy doesn't like to be spoken to rudely. Since the caller is not interested in talking, he started dialing a number. The guy started talking to his fiance's brother. The man immediately realized who the young man was talking to and was very scared. Lee Jo-tai sat in his office and asked the young guy why he was calling him, and if you need his help, he will help. The young guy wants to turn in the man he came to negotiate with and tell him that he is a traitor. The man who was so confident falls to his knees at the guy's feet in despair. The man grabbed the guy by his shorts and legs, showing all kinds of signs that the guy would not give him away in any way. But the guy gave another name, and the man was relieved and suggested the guy to go upstairs and talk quietly. The man, after this conversation, became very gracious, stood beside the guy, and started pouring him tea. The young man got a call from Lou's boss and offered to come to him to solve his problems if necessary. The guy thought that it would be timely and everything would be much easier with him because he had a good influence. The man, who was a double agent, asked what kind of guest was coming. The young man replied that it was just a friend of his. The young guy started to tell the man that he knows what actions he did to the Lee family with their guards, and even knows that 6 months ago Lee Jo-tai found out about his double game and had to sell out to him to survive. The man asked to let him explain everything and that he will definitely do all his errands, whatever he tells him to do. The guy believes that Ding Rulong will soon send a man after him and asks for the man's errand. But the man explains that it was not his job to gather information about him. The boy knows that he was only tracking his actions. The guy talks about the speculation of what might happen soon to him, and the man thinks he needs to warn the guy. But Chen, on the contrary, says he doesn't need to do anything, just like continue to play along with what will happen. The man didn't understand the guy's actions because he knows he's being attacked and asks him not to do anything anyway. The guy again warns the man that he will need his help soon, but not now. Suddenly, Boss Lu enters the cafe and he goes straight to the young guy. The man was shocked that it was his friend. Boss Lu was a little angry because he thought the guy was in danger because there was a lot of security in the cafe. Mr. Meng started to say that he is here all alone and is not threatening the young man in any way. On the contrary, he and the young man are friends. Boss Lu asks the guy not to hide his problems from him and that he will tear everyone apart for him. Now, the guy is ecstatic that he has his own powerful connections even without his fictitious wife. Guy's sudden phone call, and he heard a girl crying in the phone. He didn't know what happened, but she was outside his apartment. Chen, after the call, said he had to leave to take care of a case and said they would see everything next time. The guy was driving in his car and asked the girl on the phone what happened. She said her parents were going to take her abroad. The guy says there is no reason to shed tears, but the girl doesn't want to go abroad and asks the guy to come back quickly. The girl was crying, and standing outside his apartment, she was looking for a spare key near the electric panel to enter the apartment. At the same time, the girl Qing Ying was walking joyfully to the guy's apartment with her guards and wanted to celebrate today's success. Suddenly, the girl realized that she had forgotten the key to the young guy's apartment. She was going to cook a delicious dinner. The guard told the girl that he could try to pick the lock, and then he would call a specialist to fix it. The male guard cleverly opened the lock of the guy's door with some spokes, and the door opened. The girl, who was already in the apartment, was shocked that a stranger opened the door and went inside. Su Qingying was even more shocked that a strange girl was standing in her lover's apartment. Miss Mu was shocked to see Su Qingying enter her boyfriend's apartment because it was very strange. Ms. Su was also surprised that the girl was in a young man's apartment and he was not here. Ms. Mu said that she came in with a spare key and that the guy asked her to wait in his apartment. Su Qingying said that she came to the guy's apartment because they are friends and the girl sent her guard away. Su Qingying quietly entered the apartment and changed her shoes into house slippers and asked the girl if she had been here for a long time. Miss Mu noticed how deftly the girl put on her slippers, and the way her questions were very strange. She clearly had a soft spot for Chen. Miss Mu thought for a moment and said that she came here recently, just a few minutes ago. Su Tingying asked the girl if the guy had told her how long it would be before he came back, but she said that it would probably be quite soon. Su Qingying asked the girl to sit on the couch, and she went to put her things down. The girl sat down, but she didn't understand why she complied with her request and thought that the girl was acting as if she was the hostess. Miss Su thought that there is probably a love affair between the guy and the girl. Miss Su came out of the guy's room and offered the girl something cold to drink that was in the fridge. Miss Mu was shocked that they kept their stuff in the same room. She thought they were already living together. Ms. Mu immediately asked Ms. Su if they were dating a guy, but she didn't answer but only asked the girl. Miss Mu didn't expect that the girl wouldn't answer her, but Miss Su also realized that the girl wasn't a danger to her. Miss Mu told the girl that she met the guy just a couple days ago. Ms. Su said that means they met before they met and she should call her big sister. The girl laughed at that. The guy driving home warned that he would be home very soon, but he was delayed by the traffic. After 2 hours, the guy still reached his house, went up to the floor of his apartment and started to open his door. Entering his apartment and opening the door, the guy smelled the delicious smell of food and thought that Miss Moo can cook too. Entering his apartment, the guy didn't expect to see the two girls he had been having an affair with for the last couple of days. The girls were happy to see the guy, and Miss Moo called him her husband and told him to go wash his hands and sit down at the table. Miss Moo wondered why the girl started calling her little sister, and the guy replied that Miss Sue was older. The girl got really angry and asked about the fact that she is totally not like a little sister, and she doesn't think so. Miss Moo wanted to discuss with the guy why the girl called him husband and when he started dating her. The man didn't understand why the girl started talking to him like that, and then she became less strict and affectionately asked him to tell him. Ms. Sue asked the guy and the girl to talk a little later because now they should go wash their hands and sit down to eat. Miss Moo obediently agreed again, but again she didn't understand why she became the little sister. The two girls and the guy sat at the table and were about to eat. The guy asked how the board of directors went. Su Qingying told the guy that she told the board of directors everything happened just as he expected. The guy was happy about it. Ms. Moo became nervous and said that she didn't care about their affection, but she wanted him to answer her question. The guy didn't explain anything, and the girl said if he didn't want to tell her, she would stay at his place for the night. Ms. Sue also said she would stay the night, and she was very calm and confident because she was in love with the guy. Miss Moo realized that all this event will not be settled, and we have to wait for what will happen next. The time was already late, and Miss Sue told the girl that they had to get up early and she could sleep in the proposed room. But then, to the surprise of the guy and the girl, Miss Moo rushed past them very quickly. Miss Moo took off her house slippers and approached the big bed in the guy's bedroom. Miss Moo went to the nasty. She sat on the guy's bed, said she wanted to sleep here, and sat waiting for the girl's reaction. Suddenly, Su Qingying calmly started to sit on the bed, which surprised Miss Moo very much. She didn't expect such a turn. Miss Moo sat on the bed and told the guy that she didn't mind the girl sleeping on the bed with them. The guy told the girls that he didn't mind sleeping in a threesome since his bed was big enough for 3 people. The next morning, the guy was lying on his bed. In the company of 2 girls, they were lying on either side of his body. Miss Moo woke up to the guy's phone ringing and started grumbling that she was very tired last night and wanted to sleep some more. The guy got a call from Miss Lee and asked him to come to the company urgently because her father had come to visit her. The guy didn't understand why there was such a rush because he wasn't used to running around in the morning. Mrs. Lee was furious. She ordered the guy to come quickly because then all efforts will go to waste. The girl freaked out at the guy for coming later than promised and asked him to fasten the lock on her dress. The guy and the girl took each other's hands and went, instead of where her father and her brother were waiting for them for a serious talk. Mrs. Lee's brother was sitting in the study. Her father's brother asked what had kept them so long since they had kept their father waiting. As soon as Mrs. Lee entered the office, she asked her father why he had come suddenly and had not even warned her. The father sat very serious and stern. He looked at his daughter but kept silent and didn't answer her anything. The father didn't understand why his daughter was asking, but she had to prepare herself somehow, and the girl didn't understand the sudden visit. The father was angry, and he began to point out to his daughter that she could not take care of her younger brother, and now she was sending him away. Mrs. Lee didn't understand what was her fault that her brother screwed up, but she helped him anyway. The girl quarreled with her father. Lee Tairoka stood aside and did not understand why father and sister always start quarreling every time they meet. The girl listened to her brother and thought that it really wasn't the time to argue with her father right now. The girl abruptly grabbed the guy in hand and got ready to present her fictitious fiancé to her father. The girl was visiting the fiancé and introduced him as her young man to her father. The girl said that the guy could call his father uncle until they got married. The guys had the pleasure of meeting his father. The father sat there as formidable and confident as ever and said nothing to the situation. Li Zhoutai sat there confused and realized that his father had a grudge against this guy and could not help his sister. His father had met with his brother earlier and said that his brother and sister were trying to cheat him out of the marriage. The brother assured the father that he found everything on this guy and even the moment of his birth, and everything was on the papers he provided him. Father doesn't believe this information. He thinks that most likely the real Chen is no longer living and the guy is using his identity. Well, the brother checked everything exactly. He even did a DNA test and the results matched his parents. Then the father thought that this way his daughter wants to catch him on tricks, and it was all planned by her. The father wanted to expose the guy and asked him what university he had graduated from. The guy replied that yes, he had recently graduated and he was currently working in his daughter's company. The father wonders what the guy's specialty is, and the guy replies that he graduated in computer science and wants to make his daughter's company first. The father laughed at the guy's ambition and thought to himself that so far his answers match his dossier. The father asks the boy what his hobbies are, but the boy replies that he has a lot of hobbies and that he is also a gun enthusiast. The father even asked the boy about guns, because he didn't see it in his dossier. Lee Jobin thought that the boy made a mistake when he said about weapons, because according to history, he could not have come into contact with them. The boy replied that as a child, he liked to look at guns as much as any other boy, and at university, he could even touch them. The girl was pleased with the boy that he so cleverly answers the father's questions, but does not understand why he said about weapons. The father realized that the boy was up to something and had something wrong with his fascination with guns. The father asked his son if he had a gun with him. The son replied that he did, and the father asked him to give it to the boy. While the brother was handing the gun to the guy, the father asked him to immediately tell him about this model if it was familiar to him. The guy immediately cleverly began to tell information about this weapon, by whom it is designed, and who is used. The girl was perplexed because her father was in the army and was a fan of weapons and thinks that the guy wants to impress his father. The guy handles the weapon skillfully and even shows that he can find out how much the weapon weighs just by taking it in his hands. The guy accurately told the weight of the weapon and even exactly how many bullets are in the magazine of the weapon. The boy showed that he knows everything with confidence, but Mrs. Lee was afraid that the boy was going to reveal himself to his father. The father realized that the guy was exposing himself, which meant he was out of billets and right about everything. But suddenly, the father thought that maybe the guy is deliberately making him look suspicious, that this is his plan and suddenly they have a real relationship. The father thinks this is a new problem because her daughter's boyfriend has special forces level training and he doesn't know his target. The father hints to the guy that he is very talented, and the guy jokingly replies that if he wasn't, he wouldn't be able to date his daughter. The guy proposes to the father of his daughter to talk to him face to face. The girl is against a private conversation. The father asks his sister to pick up her brother too, but the girl is against going anywhere. The father doesn't understand why she is angry. The guy calms down his girlfriend and asks her to leave because then the father will talk to him calmly. The girl obediently agrees and gets up and obeys her fiancé, showing that she is an obedient bride. The girl leaves, and her brother also decides to leave with her not to interfere in the conversation with the father, not the future fiancé of the sister. While the sister and a brother were leaving the room, the girl asked him if in that CCTV room, she wanted to see from the father and the boyfriend. The father tells the guy that his daughter does listen to him, and the guy replies that he has found common ground with her. The boyfriend walks over to a wall cabinet and picks up a bottle of wine there he thinks is suspicious. The guy abruptly picks up this bottle and throws it on the floor so that it shatters immediately. As soon as the bottle shattered on the floor, there was a microchip that was in the bottle, and apparently, it was a hidden camera. The girl and her brother were sitting in the CCTV room, and all the screens suddenly went out. Her brother thought the cameras were broken. The guy in the room with his dad just started looking for hidden cameras so they wouldn't be disturbed or watched. The guy found every camera in a secluded corner since he was a pro at it. The guy found all the cameras that were in the room, and now nothing prevented them from starting a confidential conversation. At the same minute, the girl's father presented a gun to the guy's head, and a serious conversation was brewing. The father was very seriously upset and asked the guy who he was and what he was doing near his daughter. The girl doesn't understand what happened to the cameras because a second ago they were still working. The brother himself does not understand anything because the cameras turned off at once, one at a time, and now they will not see what the father is doing with the guy. The guy alone with his father was not surprised that he pointed a gun at him because his fiancée and her brother did the same thing. Well, the guy was confident and not afraid because he realized that the gun is probably not loaded. The father put the gun on the table and realized that the guy is not so simple and understand a lot of things in this life. The father replied that the boy was very brave, and he really guessed that the gun was not loaded. The father is tired of beating around the bush and asks why he needs his daughter. The guy replies that he loves her and wants to have children with her. The father is outraged that the guy says disrespectful words looking straight into his eyes, but realizes that he is not afraid of him. The guy starts to tell the father that he is not thinking about his daughter because the fiancé he picked up for her is a very bad man who can hurt his daughter. The father is indignant because he was not ready that some guy will lecture him for his daughter. The girl and her brother sat in the next room and thought about how to hear what the father and the boy were talking about. The girl in the next room took a glass and put it against the wall, trying to hear something. The girl knew that where she was trying to hear was the couch where the guy and the father were sitting, but still she couldn't hear anything. The brother says it's useless to listen because that room is perfectly soundproofed, which he made during the renovation. The boy further tells his father that Ding Juilong is a very stubborn person who can't control his emotions. The boy remembers about a child, but his father doesn't understand why because the child drowned 10 years ago. The boy said that it was very important because the child had not drowned, but someone had definitely taken his life intentionally. The father sat and listened to the boy very attentively, but did not understand why he was having this conversation. The father also didn't understand why the Dean family had provoked an accident of some older man. The guy starts to tell his father that he is only talking about Ding Juilong, and his family does not want to show something on the cell phone. The guy shows the gentleman a cell phone and talks about a certain woman whose name is He Shichin. On the cell phone was a beautiful picture of a girl she was sought after by many people at school, but she was friends with a boy who died. Ding Juilong took this boy's life on the street right in front of the girl, and now she is with him only because she is afraid of him. The boy starts to tell his father that he has a lot of dirt on Ding Juilong. The father anxiously asks what he is up to. The brother didn't know how to help her. The guy says that the girl's father thought wrongly he only protects her daughter and offers the option of family merger to his son. The father took it as a joke because marriage between members of different families is not so easy, not to mention the wedding. The guy says that if such an option is to his liking, he will organize all the moment of an eye and the result will be next week. The father realized that the guy is not joking, but the Dunn family's marriage is not a good time and he was afraid of that. The father interrupted the guy and forbade him to do so. He looked very stern and didn't want anyone to meddle in his affairs. The father urged the guy to answer what his and his daughter's purpose was after all. The guy answered very seriously and directly that he wanted to take Ding Juilong's life because he was threatening the life of his daughter and himself. The boy realizes that this man is hunting him anyway and he should make the first step ahead of everyone else. The father realizes that the guy is very uneasy and very serious, and he even has very serious dirt on their family. The guy asked the father not to disturb him and his daughter for 6 months, and then he will tell everything he knows about this family. 2 hours later, the girl was standing, and she was surrounded by a mountain of different tools with which she wanted to hear the guy and the father. The girl stood with a small shovel and hoped it wouldn't make too much noise and tried to do something with it. The brother ran up to his sister and asked her to drop all her tools and go with him, because the father and the boy were coming out. The girl ran lightning fast to the exit to the room with her brother to meet her father and boyfriend. The girl ran up to her fiancé and asked him if they had finished their conversation. The boyfriend asked the girl's father what he was going to do next. He said he was going back to his business. The girl's father and his brother got on his helicopter and flew back to his office to do his important business. The girl affectionately approaches her boyfriend, hugs him, and wants to find out everything and for him to tell her everything about the conversation. The guy immediately figured out the girl that she builds herself a cutie is not easy, but that was very interesting. The brother got tired of awkwardly looking at the courtesy of her sister and her fiancé, and he soon left. The girl started talking about how if the guy had told her about the conversation, she would have thought of something. The guy started saying that he wasn't feeling well lately because Qing Ying was too clingy. The girl immediately pushed the guy away from her and started yelling at him. She was uncomfortable listening to this. The guy grabbed the girl's hand sharply because he also did not benefit from Ms. Lee being offended by him for something. The guy snuggled up to the girl, hugged her, and said that she has bad behavior and it is also considered shameless. The girl snuggled up to the guy and exhaled. He hugged her. She felt really good to be around him. The guy told the girl that she must be jealous of him and then told her that he only told her father the truth about Ding Jui Moon. After that, the guy told everything he told her father, retold every little detail. The girl was ecstatic that if all of this came out, Ding Rui Lun would have new enemies who would want to find him. The girl grabbed the guy sharply by his shirt. She was obviously going to do something and wouldn't just let the guy go. The girl came to the guy's house and thanked the guy affectionately and asked if he was ready to receive his reward from her. The guy held the girls in his arms and didn't realize that she had found her since they could be watched from another building. The girl tells the guy that he is in love with her anyway, and the guy says that she is without a doubt in love with him. The girl admits that she really thinks the guy is very much her partner for life and she is really in love. But the girl warns the guy that she will never in her life be an obedient cat for him. Us sternly and confidently says, looking straight into his eyes, that only he will be obedient in their relationship. The guy was delighted by her speech and says he wishes her luck in her imperfect plans. The guy recalls that the girl wanted to reward him and asks her to give him a massage. The girl says he has to beg her. The guy refused to beg the girl and said he would just ask someone else. The girl immediately changed her face and realized that he wants to ask Qing Ying, but the guy says she is busy and he won't distract her. Then the girl gave him a very stern look and asked him who else he could ask for a massage. The guy says he has someone in mind, but he hasn't made her his yet, but he will make her his soon. The guy starts to tell the lady that this girl is prettier and younger than her, and her family is also richer. The girl starts guessing, but the guy immediately tells her that she will never guess what kind of family and what kind of girl. The guy calls the girl and puts her on speakerphone and starts baiting her into a meeting to offer her some songs. The girl on the phone asks about the songs, but Ms. Lee did not like the conversation at all. The guy suggests to the girl on the phone to give the girl a test run. Ms. Lee listened to the whole thing and stood there nervous. In the end, The guy appoints a meeting with the girl in a cafe and sends her his coordinates. Madame stood there and did not understand what kind of girl with the surname Sun, who surpassed her in appearance and origin. Then the girl still realized that someone in the city has such a surname, but it is a very influential girl. The girl asked that he meant Yu Rong's daughter. He said that she thought correctly that she was the one he was going to date. The girl is very worried because this is the daughter of a very powerful woman, and she is afraid that she can do anything to him. Yu Rong is the third millionaire in the city, and after her divorce, she won custody of her daughter and then became a black widow. All the city is afraid of her. The guy knows everything well and knows that this lady was called the first beauty in her youth. The girl asks him to be careful. Mrs. Lee agrees and invites the guy to her place for a massage in the evening, but only so that he doesn't meet Yu Rong's daughter. The guy says that she seems to have misunderstood him and that meeting the girl and the massage is just an excuse to meet her. And the girl doesn't understand what the guy is trying to accomplish, but he tells her not to worry and to relax. The guy turned around and soon went to the exit, saying goodbye to his fictitious bride. The young girl waited for the guy at the cafe, and upon meeting him introduced herself that her name was Song Xuan. The guy also introduced himself and asked the girl to sit down and offered her something to drink. The girl was really looking forward to the guy's songs that he had offered her on the phone and asked what kind of media he had brought them on. The guy asked the girl if she had paper and pen. The girl didn't understand what he wanted to do now. The guy immediately told the girl that he was going to write her a song right now on a piece of paper. The girl was shocked. The guy tells the girl that all the songs he knows and makes up are all stored in his head. The girl was puzzled because such people in their circles are not very fond of him because he does not write his songs on disc. The girl still gave the guy her notebook and pen and took an expectation of what he could write to her. When she got her notebook back, she was shocked because he had written everything down and even labeled all the instruments used. The girl sang the song to herself and thought that it was not bad, but at least it was better than anything she had heard before. The guy asked the girl about the quality of the song and whether she would buy it from him. The girl excitedly agreed, of course, that she was going to buy the song. It was very good for her. The guy and the girl started haggling over the price of the song. The guy wanted 100,000, but the girl didn't want to give that amount. The guy said that the amount that voiced finally she either agrees or does not buy it, and then he leaves. The girl clearly and distinctly tells the guy that she is not going to buy it for that amount of money. The guy gives the notebook back to the girl and says that they consider their meeting to be over. The guy says that the girl doesn't seem like the type who would steal songs, and he didn't tear the sheet of lyrics out of her notebook. Eventually, the guy got up from the table, said goodbye to the girl, and said he was leaving because she wasn't buying his song. The girl sat at the table and looked after the guy who came to write a song and left and thought he was some kind of weirdo. The guy came to the music company and was greeted by a nice girl. The guy says he wants to record a song and needs to rent a recording room for 3 hours. The guy is going to record a song that he wrote to the girl, but she refused to buy, and he is sure that this track will surely shoot up. The friendly girl asked the guy if he needed a tuner or sound engineer. The guy replied that he was fine on his own. 3 hours later, the guy walked out of the recording room and his song was ready and he needed to get home to publish it. As the guy was getting into his red car to go home, he got a call from Qing Ying, asking why he wasn't answering his phone. The guy was a little busy, and the girl told him that Miss Mu had decided not to study abroad. The girl said she couldn't come to him today. Vezi need to be in home. The guy replied that he had a lot of things to do anyway. The guy started up and drove to his business to publish a song, and when he was driving to, noticed that someone was following his car. The guy looked in his mirror and saw the license plate number and realized that it was not from their town, then it must be Ding Jui Moon's people. The guy urgently needed and immediately published the song, and he needed to do something to not get in trouble. The guy made a lightning-fast turn into the other lane and decided to quickly get away from the chase because he didn't need it now. The guy came home, opened his laptop and started to publish the song, and wrote his name in the artist box thinking that the girl will realize when she sees it. That guy published the song and went to sleep in the morning. He woke up and went straight to the laptop to see how things were with the song. And suddenly, the guy saw that in the house the flower pot was turned strangely and the pillow was lying differently too. He realized something was wrong. Yesterday, the guy didn't pay much attention to the people who were following him, and most likely they had tracked him down. The guy called Mrs. Lee and offered to meet her. She said that she just wanted to discuss something with him. The young man got into his car again, buckled up, and told Mrs. Lee that he would be in her company by 9 in the morning. The guy was riding in the car and knew that today there was a high probability that something dangerous would happen. Suddenly, a black armored car jumped out in front of his car and blocked his entrance. The guy realized that these were the same people who had been following him yesterday, and they had broken into his house after all. The guy was pinned on both sides by 2 cars, and now he couldn't move from either side. The guy realized that this is a classic scheme to take his life, and it usually works 100% of the time. The guy's car ended up exploding in the middle of the city center right between the cars, but he remembered all the license plates. The guy was prepared for this outcome because he knew what it would lead to, and he used his superpower and reset the day. Because of his superpower, the guy wakes up again on the same day at 7 in the morning, and now everything will happen according to his rules. The first thing the guy does is call his friend and ask him to run the license plates of the cars and tell him that they will soon attack him. And the guy warns that he needs these people alive because if they disappear, they won't be found. So the guy decides to go to the underground parking garage at the mall because they can't do anything there. The guy called and double-checked with his friend and said he went to the mall parking lot. The guy arrived at his destination and now waited to see what backup plan Ding Rui Lun would take. The mercenary in the car said early on that the guy had driven into the underground parking lot and needed to retreat. But suddenly, this mercenary had a minibus leave at lightning speed and rammed the car. The mercenary was angry and terrified and started yelling out the window to look where they were going and be more careful. But in front was a gang that came just for him and they want to have a little talk with him. Basically, the guy's friend found all those who wanted to chase him in cars and who made attempts on his life. The mercenary called Mr. Ding Rui Lun and said that Li Zhoutai had captured all his men who were going to take out the guy. Ding Rui Lun goes to Plan B and doubles the reward to have someone take the guy's life right in the underground parking lot at the mall. The guy was walking leisurely to the elevator. He got a call telling him that everyone had been captured and wondering where he was. The guys asked him to find crowded places and not to go anywhere where there were no people. The young guy thanked his dear bride and of course agreed. As soon as the guy got into the elevator, he saw a broken camera hanging there. It meant that he was about to get a haircut. Suddenly, a lot of men in black suits ran into the guy in the elevator and something very dangerous was brewing. All the men jumped on the guy with knives. They were sure that they would take his life and leave. The guy was sure of himself because he was ready for such an outcome and he knew that he was being watched and followed. The guy immediately grabbed someone's hand with a knife. He was not so simple, he had been wrestling for many years. Then the guy started to straighten out the mercenaries one by one. One he hit the chin so that he lost consciousness. Then he started to show his fighting techniques to all those who were there because they came to kill him. The male mercenaries ran at the guy one by one, all with their knives drawn, seeing he had a good reward. No matter how much the mercenaries tried to solve the guy's life, they failed, and the guy deftly dodged them. The mercenaries were shocked that the guy was in such good fighting shape they did not expect it. The guy was advancing and took out the mercenaries one by one because he could not die. Mrs. Li immediately rushed to the mall. She called him, but he did not answer. She ordered her guards to look for him. The girl started to find out what floor the elevator stopped on which the guy entered because he was probably being threatened. Mrs. Li and the guards quickly started trying to open the elevator, but they could not do it as if it was jammed. Suddenly, the elevator door started to open and beaten people in black suits started to fall out of the elevator. Mrs. Li was very excited. She was very worried about the guy because if something happened to him, she would not forgive him. The guy came out of the elevator all tortured, dirty, and a little bruised, but still he defeated all the mercenaries. Mrs. Li stood with her guards and watched the elevator doors open, very worried and surprised. The guy was standing in soiled clothes and his face was also dirty. He was very pleasantly surprised by Mrs. Li. Mrs. Ali immediately rushed into the arms of the guy. She had already thought a lot of bad things in her head while she was looking for him. The guy was surprised that the girl rushed into his arms because he was dirty, and she was not even afraid to dirty her clothes. The girl asked the guy to go to the hospital, because if he can talk, it's not so bad, but the guy refuses. The girl is very worried. She thinks that the guy is seriously hurt because he is all bruised and bloody, and asks him not to deny it. The guy says that the girl won't let him touch him, and the girl doesn't understand how he defeated the armed killers and remained uninjured. The boy assures the girl that he is fine, and that he only soiled his clothes and only needs to take a shower. The young man says that he has something to do first and walks up to the mercenary and pulls his phone out of his jacket. The guy defiantly takes his phone and takes a picture of all the mercenaries he defeated in the elevator. Chen takes the photo on the other man's phone and sends a message to the owner of the phone. After that, the guy takes the other person's phone and picks up the phone from the person who calls him and asks if they have finished their business. The guy asks the person if he's seen the photo he just sent him. The person on the phone asks who he is and what the stranger's phone is doing in his hands, but the guy asks him to forward the photo to his principal dean. The guy then gives the stranger's phone to Mrs. Li's guards and asks them to call an ambulance for all the mercenaries and that he needs them alive. Chen informs Mrs. Li that he will leave the city for 2 days and wants to go south on his own business. The girl cautiously asks the guy that he really wants to take the life of the man who made an assassination attempt on him. The girl asks the guy not to do rash things and throws herself at him with a passionate kiss. The guy says that he is not in the best condition for kissing and wants to go home to continue. 2 girls were sitting in the room in front of the computer and saw how the guy's song was ranked #1 that week. The girl was shocked because under the song, there were a lot of good comments even from professional singers, and this song she didn't buy. The girl's girlfriend asks her if the guy really made handwritten music sheets. The girl is very worried, and she has to ask the guy about the song because she missed a lot of things by not buying it. Mrs. Lee was sitting on the sofa at home and saw her boyfriend's phone ringing and thought it was Ding Rui Lun. The girl picked up the phone and answered it. She immediately asked what he needed and why he was calling the guy. The girl on the other wire asked to give the phone to the guy, and she would like to talk to her about his song. The mistress didn't understand what she was talking about and asked the girl to tell her everything, and she will give it to him. The girl asks not to misunderstand her and wants to apologize to the guy for their misunderstanding yesterday. Mrs. Lee doesn't understand a word the girl says because she hasn't heard of any song and doesn't understand why she's apologizing. The other girl asks if Ms. Lee is his girlfriend because she doesn't know anything about the meeting or the song. Mrs. Lee was already furious because the girl began to suspect her of something, but then she stopped and pulled herself together. Mrs. Lee started knocking on the shower door where the guy was bathing and said that the girl was calling him about the song. The guy took the phone and said that he was free today, and if she wanted to meet, he was fine with it. The guy held the phone in his hand and explained to Mrs. Lee that this girl was Song Xuan and she wanted to buy his song. Mrs. Lee took off her outer clothes, went up to the guy and hugged him, saying he is a very talented person. The guy explains to her that he is still washing. Mistress Lee again rushes to the guy with passionate kisses and asks him to show her his other talents. The guy doesn't mind cuddling with Mistress but warns her that she's playing with fire. Suddenly, someone started knocking on their door and the girl was furious that they were interrupted and didn't realize who could come at this hour. The young guy went to wash up quietly, and the girl suddenly got a call on her phone from the same person, Ding Rui Lun. The girl calmly picked up the phone, and the guy was sitting on the couch across from her. Ding Rui Lun told her that he was not involved in the incident that happened today. The young couple purposely start to play their game and start exchanging pleasantries without embarrassing Ding Rui Lun. The guy starts telling the girl to watch her expressions. The girl obediently responds to his provocations. Ding Rui Lun hears everything that is happening on the other wire of the phone and in a terrible rage starts to get nervous. The girl sitting with the guy in his arm's knee hangs up the phone, and the guy specifically tells the girl that she needs to be punished. The girl likes what is going on with her between the guy, and she purposely keeps the phone on so that Ding Rui Lun can hear and understand everything. Ding Rui Lun is furious to the point that he couldn't hear it all on his phone anymore and just smashed it on his floor. Ding Rui Lun, wouldn't you be after throwing his phone away? He started stomping on it to avoid hearing all that frustration. Mrs. Ali tells the guy that the man hung up and that from the sounds of it, he smashed his phone. The girl asks the guy that they stop talking about their grudge and wants to further start being nice to her boyfriend. Chen replies to his mistress that he does whatever is at her discretion and he is perfectly fine with having fun with her. The guy warns the girl that he will have a meeting with Yu Rong and he asks her to play along when she calls her. The girl doesn't understand why the guy is meeting with Yu Rong since he was supposed to meet with Xuan. The guy says that the lady got it right, but he will meet her mother in addition to her. While the girl and the guy were kissing and hugging each other, Mrs. Lee's brother came into the room. Mrs. Lee's brother starts apologizing to the guy and saying that he is to blame for what happened to him today and wants to make things right. The girl tells the brother that she knows what he's up to and warns him not to even think about it. Li Jotai starts to say that the guys were lucky today, but the next time, it may all be paid for and he has to take Dean out himself. Mrs. Lee can no longer change the guy's mind and asks Chen to change his mind. The guy assures her brother that he's fine. The brother also tells her that the guy who should have been kept alive is fine. Chen was delighted he needed him alive and wants to talk to him properly. Madame's brother wonders what he wants to talk to him about and what information to get out of him. Mrs. Lee's brother makes a promise that he will listen to the guy and help him in any way he can. The girl was calm after that. The guy kindly says a goodbye to the lady or her brother and informs them that he has some things to do now. Chen packed up and drove to the establishment with whom he had made an appointment on the way to the cafe. The man sat in the car and took pictures of him. The guy arrived at the cafe. Ms. Sun was already there and was quietly waiting for him to discuss things with him. Ms. Sun was sitting in the cafe and was looking forward to the meeting when she saw him. She was very happy and even felt uncomfortable after their last meeting. The guy had already predicted everything that would happen this time, and he knew that the girl would call him to the meeting. He waited for her to tell him. The girl tells the guy that she found out that his family owns a small restaurant and wants to see if it's true. The guy confirms the information with the restaurant and says that his family owns a noodle store in a small town. The girl says that she thought she was 40 years old from the sound of his girlfriend's voice and she thinks he is living on her allowance, but he can't live like that. The guy didn't expect the girl to take Ms. Lee's voice that way, and he even laughed at that moment with her story. The girl didn't expect the guy to start smiling and said that it's not fair for him to waste his talent and live with an old woman. Ms. Sun takes the guy by the hand and offers to help him if he wants to make money on his own with his success in songs. The girl says she's seen how famous his song has become and says he'll soon be contacted by big companies who want to promote him. The guy says that she misunderstands and wants her to get to the point because he realizes that she wants to buy his song. The guy offers to write the girl her song and wants her to pay him $10,000. She gladly agrees. But suddenly, the guy also wants the girl to pay the guy 50% of the proceeds of the song he will write her. The girl agrees to all the conditions of the guy, but the main thing that the song that she will write was as popular as the previous one. The guy agrees with the girl and asks her again for a pen and paper and says that if the song is not popular, he will return the money. 10 minutes later, this guy wrote her a whole song called Song for You. The girl was thrilled. The guy showed her the phone with the check and said that he got the money from her and now it's time for him to run his business. The guy got into his car, buckled up, and drove with anticipation to his next meeting with an important person. Chen, while driving to his serious meeting, saw in the rearview mirror that he was being tailed again by someone following him. The guy decided that now is not the time for him to deal with people who want something from him and are constantly following him. He just runs away. Eventually, the man who was chasing the guy couldn't keep up with him, called his boss, and said he didn't apprehend him. The girl who hired the man was shocked because no one had ever left her when she wanted them to. The guy was standing right outside the office of the mistress who was the person who sent a tail for him to detain him. The woman was very interested in the young man and how he was able to find out everything, and asked that he be brought to her office. The guy arrived at this woman's office. Her guard brought the guy to her office and asked permission to enter her office. Chen, surrounded by a lot of security guards of the company he is in, entered the office and was ready to talk. The woman who was called the All-Black Widow was Wu Yu Rong. She politely invited the guy into her office. The guy asks the woman if she thinks it's rude to invite a man to meet her. The woman doesn't know what the guy is thinking and answers him that she thinks it's rude to invite only him. Mrs. Rude earnestly asks her guards to leave and leave them alone with the guy. The women's bodyguards do not pass by the guy sternly and sternly tells him not to even try to throw anything away. The girl asks the guy to sit down and tell her what he needs her daughter for, and she assumes it's a connection his fiancé doesn't know. The guy sharply replies to the woman that he doesn't understand why she cares so much about her daughter since she's not even her mother. The woman was horrified by such information from a man she didn't know because no one should know about it. The guy starts to tell all her story from the moment of marriage and that her father forced her to marry. The woman kept her husband away from her after the wedding and always kept a knife under her pillow to threaten him. The woman also made herself innocent in front of her husband and said that she did not want to give birth so as not to spoil her figure. The woman acted cunningly, and she hired a surrogate mother, and after giving birth to the child, she went against her husband's family. The lady says that if he wants to tell someone about something, she is fine with it and only wants to talk to him about her daughter. The woman replies to the guy that her daughter has her blood in her daughter, and it doesn't matter which woman bore her, and she won't let her get hurt. The young guy replies to the woman that he is not interested in his daughter at all. He is only interested in her. The woman was delighted with the guy's speech, and she was very interested in what his mental account of her was. The guy does not answer her that to meet her, he had to involve her daughter because he had no other way out. The woman does not understand why everything is so complicated, and she wonders if his fiancé knows about such thoughts of the guy. The guy answered the girl that his fiancé knows about everything and she cannot worry about it. The girl sweetly came very close to the guy and asked him to tell him about his head thoughts about her. The lady stood opposite the guy and he told her that a certain Ding Jui Lun A was after his head at the moment. The girl replies that she knows the man but does not understand what he has to do with her. The guy confidently replies to the woman that he is going to take this man's life. The lady heard from the guy his story but still did not understand how this story relates to her. The guy advises the woman to withdraw her investment from the Chuan Han Foundation while she still has the chance. The girl thinks it's nonsense and his relationship has nothing to do with her fund, but the guy assures her that it will soon go bust. The guy confidently makes the woman realize that her investments will be lost and he will be the reason for it. The mistress says she won't fall for his intimidation, but the guy says he's only interested in Ding Jui Lung, but somehow she'll be involved too. Mistress says she is not related to Ding Jui Lung. She is not interested in what is going on between them, but the guy is sure she is related to him. The guy again starts telling the girl all the pitfalls of her company, its shareholders, and the real owners of the fund. The girl realizes that the owner of the fund is a major member of the second generation of the Dean family. The guy again clarifies that this person they just talked to is the third uncle of Ding Rui Lun. The lady is still bickering and again replies to the guy that she has nothing to do with this foundation. But the guy assures the woman that she doesn't understand much and says that if something happens to Ding's family, the earthquake will reach her. The woman was horrified and shocked by such statements of the young guy and how much hidden things he knows. The girl started to ironically ask the guy that he is targeting the entire Dean family because the guy doesn't even have a powerful background. The guy says that Mistress really likes Ms. Jobin and sees her as a role model, which is why he came to her. Mistress thinks it's a very absurd excuse, but since he mentioned his fiancé's name, she should check it out. Mistress takes her phone and calls Mrs. Lee and speaks to her kindly. The lady starts to tell his fiancé that her young man is now at her place, and she replies that she is aware of this. The mistress asks Mrs. Lee if she knows that her young man has taken up with the Ding family, and the girl again replies that she knows. Mistress again wants to ask specific questions about Mistress Leah, but she interrupts her abruptly. Mistress didn't understand how the guy has already discussed everything with the Lee family since they also work with the Dean family, and realizes that she needs to discuss everything with the guy. The woman goes to her closet and offers the guy something strong to drink. The guy doesn't refuse the good offer to have a drink with the woman and chooses wine. The woman takes one of the bottles from her wine collection and brings it to the guy because they are about to have a long conversation. The woman pours the wine into glasses. She obviously intends to learn more about this young man she does not know. The lady gives the guy a glass of wine and her face has clearly changed. She did not look as serious as before. The women and the young man started drinking wine in each other's company because of the serious conversation. While the young man was explaining to the lady all the pros and cons of the incident, half an hour passed. The girl, after drinking glasses of wine, became very liberated and asked the guy if he wanted more refills. The woman did not wait for an answer from the guy, went to take the next bottle of wine, which was 2,000 years old. Suddenly, the girl, from the fact that she had too much alcohol, stumbles on her heels and twists her leg. And suddenly, a woman with a bottle of wine stumbles and starts to fall because she couldn't keep her balance. Very lightning fast, the guy behind picked up the woman and did not even let the wine bottle break. Mistress was embarrassed and uncomfortable. She didn't even know the guy was standing behind her. The guy says it wouldn't have been good if he hadn't caught her. Mistress apologizes to the guy and realizes she got too hungover too fast from her wine. The guy realized that he needed to gain the woman's trust and realizes that she doesn't really trust men. Chen realizes that the most important part is to get close to her, but needs to emphasize physical contact. The guy asks the girl to wrap up her drinking, and she says she won't drink anymore and was happy to meet him. The girl says they're not done yet and stumbles back to the guy, who deftly picks her up again. The woman says she's fine and just needs to take off her stupid shoes. The girl takes off her shoes and now she feels comfortable. She doesn't want to end the conversation. The guy politely reaches out his hand and Mistress to help her. He wants to appear very polite and gallant. Abruptly and unexpectedly, the guy takes the woman in his arms and tells her that the place is not cleaned and the floor is cold to go barefoot. The woman was shocked that the guy was holding her in his arms like a bride and that in all her 40 years, she had never met such brave men. The man was holding the woman in his arms and was very confident, and he was not allowed to show any insecurity because he had to have her. The guy puts the lady on the couch, but she was not very happy that he carried her in his arm. The guy says that he doesn't mind to continue the conversation and pours himself another glass of wine. The girl starts to attack the guy and says that he took her in his arms on purpose. The young man does not object to the mistress, and he makes it clear that he really took her in his arms on purpose. The mistress was already in a confused state and wanted to find a way to get rid of him. The guy doesn't understand why the mistress is angry because she wanted him to hug her, and the woman pretended to fall down because she was drunk. Mistress got nervous and realized that the guy exposed her because she really pretended to be drunk with wine on purpose. The guy says that she gave him the opportunity, but it seems to him that she is using a tactic that she uses on all men. The guy does figure out the woman and reveals all her tricks and takes a glass of wine and starts drinking it quietly. The young guy suggests to the woman to have a heart-to-heart talk because he doesn't want to be her enemy, but the woman doesn't understand the guy's self-confidence. The guy again calmly starts to tell the woman that he knows how her husband committed suicide and that she was involved in it. Her ex-husband, at the behest of his wife, has been driven to the roof by creditors where he has fallen into despair because they humiliated him. The guy asks the woman not to worry, because the most interesting thing he will tell again. The guy makes it clear that he knows a lot more about this mistress than everyone else around her. The guy even tells how she uses the toy from the bottom drawer at night in her room all alone. The girl was shocked by such revelations of the guy because what he told absolutely no one knew except her. The guy tells the woman that at her age, such desires are normal and he understands her perfectly. The guy asks the lady if she has ever wondered what her life would be like if she could start over. Then Chen starts humming Mistress's song, which was her favorite. She wrote it spontaneously and no one knew about it besides her. The guy, after all the stories he provided the woman with a smirk on his face, offered the woman more wine. Mistress did not understand who this strange guy was and how he had such important information about her life. The guy was as confident as always, and the woman did not understand how he knew such personal facts and how he managed to find out. The guy asked the lady not to be surprised because he knew more than what he had told her, but he was not here to be her enemy. The woman realized that the things he knew she could be put in jail, and he really knows a lot. The girl realized that one of her options was to take this guy's life and make him disappear. But the other option was that she needed to get close to him and use all his abilities and information he had. The woman also realized that he is very mysterious, and so she has the choice to get close to him and he is attractive. The girl tells the guy that she has decided not to become enemies and to continue talking to him. The girl takes the glass of wine in her hands again and is going to further find out all the details of the case with the guy. The guy tells the mistress that after his plan her career will advance even further, wondering if his fiancée will be jealous of him. The guy says that he has several women, and Mrs. Lee is not embarrassed because she is an unusual woman. Madame now understands why the results of Jin Fu's board of directors were very different from the previous ones. Mistress also realized that if she dares to make her entrance, she will be no stranger to their love relationship. The girl twirled her unfinished wine glass in her hand and realized that nothing could stop her before her decision. The mistress tells the guy that she has had enough to drink and invites him to come to her for a cup of tea and defiantly puts her feet on him. The guy takes mistress's feet and starts taking off their shoes and says he doesn't mind going to her place for tea. The girl and the guy leave her office and she asks him if the guy has a lot of free time today. The guy replies that he has the whole day free today, and the woman quickly puts on her shoes and grabs Chen's hand. After they leave the office, the girl passionately pounces on the guy with a kiss. The guy warns the mistress that the initiator of such things should be a man. Chen asks mistress if she is sure she does not mind to do such things right in the hallway of the house. Mistress did not see any obstacles because they have already arrived home, and she would like to throw herself on him faster. The woman was already impatient to get the young man, and she didn't want to waste any time. The guy again took the mistress in his arms and carried her to her bedroom. Also, he said that today he would devote his time only to her. The young man put the girl right on her bed. She was already sprawled out in love. The guy started to take off his shirt and asked the mistress that maybe it is not necessary to hurry with such events. But the woman grabbed the guy by the neck with her hands and made it clear that she could not wait any longer. The girl happily lay on the bed and asked the young guy to do a good job. The next morning, the daughter of the mistress went into the house and saw standing men's shoes at the entrance. She was very surprised by it. The girl was very frightened. She started howling loudly to her mom and asked her not to scare her. Mistress was frightened and realized that her daughter was back, but she could not let her see her like that. Mistress asked the young boy to hide under her bed because her daughter should not see him. I think mistress's daughter is scared and rushes to her room, opens the door and calls her mom. The girl opened the door and saw her mother lying naked in the bed. Then she realized that she had interfered with something. The girl thought that burglars had broken into their house, but she didn't know that her mom had guests and just left. Mistress was very embarrassed by the situation that happened to her daughter because previously this had not happened at their house. The young man crawled out from under mistress's bed and his phone rang and he answered it. The girl took his phone and started to answer his call. The guy was very surprised. The mistress picked up the young man's phone and said that he had left his phone near her. On the other wire of the phone was Mrs. Lee, and she asked if the guy had decided to sell it in the morning, but the woman said no. The guy listened to all this with some kind of fascination. Mrs. Lee asked again how the woman found him then. The woman replied that she didn't find the man, but he found her. The guy watched his two mistresses and watched it. The mistress replied to Lee Jobin that the young man was now at her home, and clearly by his own consent. Mistress Lee asked the woman if she had invited her fiancé to spend the night at her place. Question after question, Mrs. Lee asked the woman and finally asked if she had shared the night with him, to which Mrs. Lee answered in the affirmative. Mrs. Lee was shocked that the guy had gotten a woman again so quickly, and she invited Director Wu to meet and talk. The woman invited Mrs. Lee to her house too, and the women immediately headed to the meeting place. The guy watching the two women chatting from the side asked how it went, and the woman replied that Mrs. Lee would be here soon. Mistress is going to take a shower because soon she will have guests at home. She needs to look properly. As the woman went to the shower to refresh herself, she met her daughter who was leaving. The daughter asked the lady if she had met her young man. She was very curious who he was. The girl's mother did not understand why she was so interested in her young man, because she had never asked such questions before. Her daughter simply replied that she didn't mind taking the opportunity to get to know the man better. The woman looked at her daughter, stroked her head, and showed him that it was not worth rushing things. The daughter of the mistress was leaving and said that her mother could not tell her because she would have the opportunity another time and left. 40 minutes later, a young boy opened the front door for Mrs. Lee and she came quickly. Mrs. Lee hinted to this guy that he never ceased to surprise her with his surprises. The guy thought Mistress Lee was giving him a compliment, but the guy thought the girl was jealous of him. Mrs. Lee guy just walked past each other. Mrs. Lee didn't say anything to him about jealousy. Mrs. Lee said that she knows very well about the guy's talents and asked him not to make her angry every day. The guy listened to the mistress and came very close to her, hugged her, and said he loved her. The girl couldn't believe that the guy said those words. She barely managed to stay calm. Mistress walked past the guy when he was confessing to her and asked if he had said those words to anyone else, and the guy said no. Mistress Lee doesn't miss the opportunity and decides to confess her love to the young man at this moment too. The guy starts hugging the mistress, and the girl thinks that the other girls of the guy will start to crane their necks, recognizing the other woman. The guy assures Mrs. Lee not to worry and that nothing will happen, everyone will keep quiet. Eventually, the young man goes to the front door and says he will go home so the girls can talk alone. Mrs. Lee looked at the boy and decided that he really wasn't needed in this situation and they would solve everything without him. Mrs. Lee looked around at the woman's house and thought about the upcoming conversation about her young man. Principal Wu came out of her room in her house robe and apologized to Ms. Lee for waiting for her for so long. Ms. Lee was very reserved because she came to talk calmly and would keep her cool. Ms. Lee said about the woman that she and Ms. Lee were very busy people, so they should get right down to business. Director Wu was curious about what she wanted from her and what she was going to learn from her. Suddenly, Mrs. Lisa declares that she wants the woman to bow down to her and ask for her forgiveness. The woman is completely confused as to what exactly she should apologize to Ms. Lee for. Ms. Lee says that since she has decided to share the night with her man, she should treat her with full respect. The woman doesn't understand if it's important because she's not going to marry him, and she won't be a barrier to their future together. Mrs. Lee reminds the woman that she is not the first person her fiancé has had fun with, nor will she be the last, and that she is no different from anyone else. The woman reminds Mrs. Lee that her fiancé has other girls, but she doesn't get involved with them like she does with her. Ms. Lee and Principal Wu Staley are enemies in front of each other and says that sometimes her fiancé has unpredictable actions. Mrs. Lee says that previous girls became a guy's girlfriend in just a day, and Mrs. Wu's happened the same way. Principal Wu was a bit furious because Mrs. Lee wants to tell her that she and the other girls mean nothing to the young man. Chen offers a lot of effort to destroy the Ding family, and he definitely wants to win Li Jobin's heart. Principal Wu is sure that the guy really differentiates his attitude of other girls to Miss Lee.